And there we go. Sup, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Abzy for the Best Gaming Podcast number 422. We smoked 420 so quick.
Did we?
Yeah,
did
420 was the event. No.
Oh, 420 was the
I think
event.
It was the event
I completely
stream.
forgot. Yeah. And you didn't even put the number on that stream. Did you do it on purpose? Where you're like,
I think I went back last night and put the number on there. I've been looking at like trying to verify what people want to watch, like what works for people, because some of our podcasts get insane retention. We've got 85% retention on a 4-hour podcast. It's
that's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing.
But then another will have like 55 or 60, which is more high but normal. And I'm like, what do I need to do? So I've been looking at naming and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something I screw up. I'm not good at it. Like, it's called the Best Gaming Podcast because I'm not good at this shit. Like, even the tech stuff we just had behind the scenes, I'm like, dude, I'm not good at, like, this is the one place where I have issues. Sup, everybody in chat. Rogerio, Robert, Chicken Wings, Flexen, Darge Knight. What's up, man? We had a long discussion with Darge last night. Eric, Maverick Duck. I'm going to have to read some of the Discord discussion we had last night. We had a huge...
Favorite stuff, right?
It was favorite. Take an IP and give it to a dev, and then do
that one
this.
Is a cool question. I like that question.
It was awesome. I mean, it went for like 4 solid hours. I went for a run with Cadiz, came home, and they were still in there. Yeah, and I was like, that's the jam. That's the jam. Nice. That's always cool. Yeah. What about you? Over the week? Let's see. So last we did was Friday. So over the weekend and the last couple days, anything amazing?
No, I've been addicted to Alan Wake 2. I went and watched the movie at the theater, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio and
yeah. Is it good?
It's paced very weirdly. Like it's I liked it kinda. I liked the performances. I think what's his name? The one dude, the older guy, the Robert De Niro. We did a fantastic job. I've never seen him like be that way. He was like a southern kind of dude. You know what I mean? That was really cool to see. I like the story of it. The pacing was just killed it for me a little bit because it went like this and then it would go like that. It'd just be all over the place. So I couldn't. So I didn't love it, but it was cool.
It was more along the lines of
30 minutes, dude.
What? The movie's 3 hours and 30 minutes long?
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
Dude, that's like births for a lot of babies. That's a long movie. That's a long
very movie. Long, dude.
Yeah, how'd they prop up De Niro to be awake for 3 hours and 30 minutes?
I have no idea. Dude, he killed it though. It was crazy.
Okay.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Was DiCaprio going against type kind of thing where he does in some movies where he's like, I'm going to play Blood Diamond. He was like the South African Blood Diamond black market trader. Phenomenal movie. In this one, did he play against type? Like, was he a nerd, or was he just Leonardo?
Yeah, he was
Leonardo.
No, it wasn't Leonardo being. He was very odd. Yeah, it was like different. He looked uglier, like purposefully uglier, kind of.
Oh wow.
More southern, more like yeah. He was different. He wasn't being like like Leonardo or anything. Yeah, it's a weird role, but he nailed it. Yeah, for sure.
Anything else over the weekend that you did? Anything cool? Anything unique?
No, I didn't do much. Yeah, as I said, I've been addicted to Alan Wake. Friday, actually, the reason why I couldn't come was because some cousins came, so we went to dinner and did all that stuff. Visited from Europe, so that's all.
Visited from Europe.
Much. Yeah.
When it comes to, let's see, this week, what have I been doing? I played some more Alan Wake, played some Spider-Man, checked out the Lenovo, the Legion. Lenovo.
Yeah, that one looks really good. How'd you like it?
I'll talk about it in a second. There's for sure some issues. Like, it's definitely one that you have to look at and go, hardware at this cost, there's going to be problems. Yeah, there'll be problems. And then I did jump a little bit into Destiny 2 because of the news that's been coming out. I want to talk about Destiny 2 for sure because dude, their numbers stunned me. Like, I was actually legitimately surprised. 45% lower sales than they expected, which is why they laid off a bunch of people.
Is there a new expansion or something?
New expansion got delayed. So new expansion was delayed, and then Marathon was delayed. And so it's interesting to see exactly where they are, where they begin. Anybody in chat, what have you been watching? Did you watch anything over the weekend? Did you play anything amazing over the weekend? It looks like some people saw the same movie you did. Film times are crazy this day. Oh yeah, Darge Night film run times are crazy. Ethan says, I'm ready for Alan Wake thoughts. I sometimes switch between YouTube and Apple Podcast app if I'm out of Wi-Fi. Oh, are you talking about the podcast? Yeah, Spotify has video, by the way. I think Apple iTunes doesn't have video, if I'm remembering right. I think they just do audio. But thank you, everybody, for showing up. I absolutely appreciate it. Tweet it out if you can. The alert didn't go out correctly, but such is life. There's nothing you can do. We roll with this stuff almost 90% of the time. So that is life. Dude, let's just talk about Destiny and get it out of the way, because it's weird. So the report came out. I broke down some of the numbers. Actually, I didn't. I want to make sure that's clear. Other people broke down the numbers. This is from them. I wrote the ones in I want to talk about. So it was 15 months after it was bought. Bungie laid off 8% of the gaming unit, including around 100 people, which included composer Michael Salvatore. Reports are that the sales of Destiny are now 45% lower than expected. They've delayed Final Shape until February 2024, and Marathon is now tentatively set until 2025.
Damn.
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. How many times do we talk about games cannibalizing other games? At some point, if you were working there, you had to have looked and said at some point people are going to move on.
Yeah, obviously. Wait, why are they surprised that much, though?
Well, I think we're guessing they're surprised that because they laid off instead of having projects to move those people over. I could be wrong on that, though. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's laying off stuff. I think that's just the market right now.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's happening every day.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody says, Old Boy says, hilariously dumb to let go of Salvatore. I mean, yeah, he's good. You know, it is what it is. We also don't know with composers, did he do the work and then he's just like, you know, not really doing anything until something else you never quite know how music's going. But
are there people still working there since the Halo days, like Halo 1?
Yeah, there's a couple people, especially high up, who've been working there since pretty much, you know, very close to when it was established.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah. But not, I think one of the high guys came and went. I could be wrong because I don't track it that much. I don't like to track one company that much. I feel like it's easy to become invested in them, and start like living vicariously through them, like the Pittsburgh Steelers or something, where suddenly you're eating a cupcake with the Pittsburgh Steelers number on it when they win the Super Bowl and you just know your life's over. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
What do you think about Destiny 2? It's got a delay, and is there anything about Destiny 2 that's ever grabbed you and made you want to go back to it in the last 2 years?
No. My dad loves it though, as I've said multiple times, but I've never been a fan. I played when Destiny 2 first came out. And I bought it, and I think what killed it for me, like I played through or whatever, I liked the shooting, it was fun, all that stuff, and then I think like I don't know if a DLC came out or there was something where I was like, oh shit, well, I'm not going to be able to actually play this game if I don't buy DLC constantly and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, I'm not that invested to be hooked into it, to keep purchasing stuff, to keep playing and all that stuff. I enjoyed the PvP a great deal with the one revolver pistol. You know, it's that type of game where I'd play for like 10 hours or something and then just that game requires you to be in love with it and play it nonstop for a long time for it to be worth it. I feel like do the raids, do the dungeons, be invested in that type of game. It's just it wasn't the game for me. Yeah. But Marathon, I'm kind of excited to see, because I really like the concept of extraction shooters, and no good extraction shooter has come out. Like Tarkov has still not even come out, it's still in beta. Yeah, Hunt. I always forget about Hunt.
Give Hunt
I always,
right?
I always forget about Hunt. Hunt is the only good extraction shooter that is out. So yeah, I want to see more of these because they have really neat ideas. You could argue Division, the dark areas are.
You're talking about the dark areas in Division 2.
Those were like the first of their kind, right? Where you gotta pick shit up and like extract before someone finds you, kills you, steals your loot and stuff. So I like that type of concept, but it has to be done right. I really like loot. You know what I mean? I hope for it to really interest me, the loot game has to be like a big
pretty
thing
high.
About it.
Yeah.
Pretty high, yeah, because that's like the most enticing, risk rewarding thing is like I get more loot, I get more, stuff that's worth more, that fits into 2 slots versus stuff that isn't worth that much, and do I go further for more loot, or do I just extract
Can I
what I
just
have?
warn
So,
you against something then? Because this is the honest truth as a fan of the game. Hunt isn't the greatest when it comes to loot.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hunt isn't great when it comes, they've changed it a couple times, but the death life pattern and how they used to do, you lost your character and blah, blah, blah.
You lost your character.
I got to admit, like when you started talking about loot, my brain started looking at Hunt as you were talking, going, oh, crap, that's not really, that's not, it's not really great at it,
Yeah.
And
well, that's what Tarkov
movie.
nails, and that's what I love about Tarkov, except it has like cheaters and stuff. So yeah, that's what I hope for future extraction shooters to really focus on, dial in.
Arch Nemesis says he played Arc Nemesis, said he watched Bullet Train, awesome movie. Yeah. Good.
Bullet Train's awesome. Yeah.
Movie's awesome. I would say with let me spell this right and change Destiny. I would say with Destiny, Bungie, all this kind of stuff, I'm not really too invested in what goes on, other than you don't want to see layoffs. Right. I'm more invested in this will never happen. Dude, it'll never. I don't even know why I'm just bringing it up because it would be mind-blowing to have them wake up in the morning and you're hanging out and they're like, we're making a single-player campaign shooter with everything you liked from Destiny.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen.
It's never gonna happen. Yeah. But can you I would be in bed, feet up, and somebody be like, dude, Bungie's making like Halo-ists, it's like somewhat Halo, faux Halo. I would be, it would be beyond belief if that, but you're right. It's just.
That would be amazing, because the gunplay is awesome, and they could build a cool thing around it. I think the lore, even, they have like very extensive lore.
They do. They've just removed it.
They removed story
to make
stuff,
way for you to buy their micros and get in real quick. In real quick. I personally would also say, while they have the best shooting, I think they've got some of the best shooting. Their HUD is maybe the worst.
Yeah. I don't shooters. Like this like big icon, kind of like mobile-ish live service upgrade number type shit. I never like it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too, because they have a bunch of strengths, but you can't spread it everywhere. It's like too much bread. What did he say? Bread, or in Lord of the Rings, bread over too much jam, or too much jam over not enough bread. You get that thin piecemeal kind of thing. But I do think that they're good. I just think that this probably caught up with them quick, because that's a pretty big layoff amount. And the lower than expected 45%, maybe that's people looking at some of these other games. Maybe a game I'm not remembering has come up and done well, and it's cannibalized it. Baldur's Gate could have cannibalized it, even though they're not the same style of game. A long-term game can cannibalize it. It's like, if you have another podcast to go to, then how are you going to be at mine? Yeah. Right? Like, it's just time. That's how time works. So, yeah. What would Destiny 2 have to do to get you to come back? You woke up tomorrow. Best news ever about Destiny 2. What is it, and why would you go back?
They completely redesigned the game.
That's pretty harsh.
I don't know, man. No, they would have to. It'd be cool. So a single player story would be cool.
Yeah.
Kind of more MMO and less live service. Maybe. I don't fucking know, dude. I don't fucking know. I mean, the only live service game I really played for a long time is Division. There might be something there. It might be because of the level design. The level design is certainly a big part of it. And the atmosphere and stuff. And I kind of like the Division stat stuff. There's a lot of numbers for sure, but I like seeing them. And sometimes not only focusing on one big number. UI change would be huge for sure. Less micro stuff. Less like less focus on just buying the new DLCs and stuff, the sunsetting shit. Less focus on like the new age kind of gamified type shit. I like old kind of style MMOs where it's more focus on on kind of the world rather than like menu stuff and
I wouldn't know
getting
what
in
to
as
do
fast as you can. And
going in and seeing not 8,000 customizable, coins. The
yeah,
Astral
yeah,
Uber
20
Silver
currency.
laser etched coin. And you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
Jesus, dude, seriously?
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I don't know if it has a good onboarding or not at this point
it's
with that
terrible.
many expansions out. Yeah.
Everybody I
So
know,
that's
there
a
are some
huge
people
one.
I really, how you might have a person, they may do other stuff, but it's like for a specific game you trust.
Mhm.
You trust them even if they like it. When I talk to the people on the Iron Lords, Cog and a couple other really like Destiny. But when I went on there, I mean, I admit I tested a little bit and, was like, blah, blah, blah. And those guys are just fully, like, there's no one else. They don't let the fandom get to them. Like, every other person I've ever seen cover that game, they just start fanboying out. And those guys are like, no, man, the onboarding is horrendous. They don't cuss. So I cussed for them. It was cool to hear them explain it because they've been in there a long time. And you know how it is? If you get accustomed to something, like, it ain't that bad. And then somebody new comes in, they're like, I can't figure shit out. And you're all, oh, okay, maybe it is bad. Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty rough, man.
There is something to be said, though. Like, they do have amazing raid design, I heard. And I remember, like, when the first Destiny came out with, like, its first couple of raids, the best raid teams from, like, World of Warcraft would try it out, and it's, like, too hard for them. And there's a lot of mechanics. And even some single-player content was pretty difficult. Like, I tried it once, and it was pretty. So there is like stuff there that's there is stuff there that really interests me because I love raids and stuff and like actual teaming up with people and like coordinating and stuff, but I think it's mired down by all like the bullshit surrounding it, like the live service modern stuff.
I don't know where their future is. Obviously Marathon, that's now a ways out. And at some point, they're probably going to have to hire a composer back because they got rid of that composer. So it's like, I don't think they're done with Marathon. But it is weird that Sony bought them and still hasn't paid them off. That payoff isn't done yet. And they seem to be having problems. This sort of seems indicative of the stuff that Sony has been having issues with behind the scenes with service games and, with like, where do they want to go? Obviously, Bungie wants to go one place, or did, and they're having issues. And I would say when you look at all the service games combined, it's definitely a cratering market, man. It's almost like service games. Everybody thought multiple people could. Or like subscription services. For a while, we all had a ton, but then you choose your top 2 or 3. And that's what it feels like to me when it comes to these services.
Yeah, I forgot about the Sony thing. Like, do you think Marathon isn't even going to come to PC?
No, I think it will. I just think that Marathon's probably going through a bit of a defining process to figure out how they want to do it. And there are every company does it. You look at the industry and you're like, oh, this and this is happening.
You know what the issue that scares me with extraction shooters, especially, and PvP games in general, but extraction shooters especially, is how far will they go with out of game earnings, like buying microtransactions,
right,
or watching a Twitch stream to get jobs, or all this stuff. For extraction shooters, I like everybody to be at the same level, same exact level going, because that's what it's all about. That's what for example, I tried there was one I enjoyed kind of, but it just had stupid kind of matchmaking and stuff, which didn't make sense. The way the reason why Tarkov works so well, Tarkov does have stuff you can pay for, like bigger inventory slots or whatever, but you can earn them in game if you grind. But the reason why Tarkov works so well is because even if you have not a lot of money, if you buy like shitty gear, shitty ammo, shitty guns or whatever, you can still shoot someone in the face and they die.
Yeah.
So someone that could be geared out of his fucking ass, right? And you just shoot him, and then you just get his gear, and that's amazing. But I tried there was another extraction shooter that came out. Someone mentioned it here. It was on Steam, and it's dead now. But the issue with that extraction shooter is that they did gearing with like, oh, you have purple gear, blue gear, green gear, white gear. Purple, if you got purple armor, you got a white weapon, there's no chance, dude. You're gonna unload like 20,000 bullets and it could just kill you in like one shot, right? But that's like that stuff kind of worries me. I don't know what they would do with Marathon, because Tarkov is more like on the realism side. So yeah, that's always something to think about. Yeah.
I would also say I mean, personally, for me, weapons are always difficult because it's like, well, what the hell's a legendary AK-47 versus a normal,
exactly.
right? I like the
Yeah.
idea of little skills, like, and not even just reload, but like, for every 10th shot, you have a chance of this. I can deal with that in a game. But what I do want is to make sure that, like you said, if two of us shoot somebody in the face, that dude's dying no matter what.
Yeah.
And if you can't figure that out in your game, which we're not saying Destiny can't, we're talking about shooters as a whole. If you can't figure that out, you're in trouble. Like, you got to figure it out that a person who is a lowly white item guy who's got all commons can still, if he's a good shot, can still absolutely devastate somebody.
I think that's very important. Even in Hunt Showdown, man, like, obviously you could still shoot someone with a gun and kill them, dude. There's not the Cycle Frontier, that's the one. There's no like weird kind of, I've been playing the game for more, I have more money, I get purple armor, that's it. You're just fucked. Obviously, if you have more money and you get better gear in Tarkov or something, you have a better chance. But that's it. It's all percent chances. A helmet can stop a bullet 50% of the time, 5% of the time, 10%. It's not like a direct like DR type thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's something to think about for sure.
It's I mean, especially with Destiny, man. I mean, I will always be a huge fan. I just think the shooting, the core shooting, there's two things in Destiny I love.
Yeah.
If you remove everything else, one is just the absolute shooting itself, and two, I love the idea and the design of the guns.
Yeah, for sure.
They've got some of the best looking. I mean, I may not like it. I may not even like the way it shoots, but when I see in the full screen some revolver that's got like thorns and hooks, I'm like, dude, that looks pretty sweet. I probably can't use it well, not compared to everybody else, but it's like it looks cool. Some of their machine guns look cool. They just have this awesome design to them.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. I'd like them to change, but I don't, especially like a lot of live service and Destiny included, is I like the idea of, okay, there's a gun you really want, like a legendary gun, and the gun is legendary because it is of a legend. It is legendary, only this boss wields it, and he will drop it, and one of your raid teams has a chance of getting it.
Right.
Or you work towards something, like you do a lot of quests and you get a lot of resources to build like a legendary beautiful weapon you've wanted, you have the recipe for, versus random drop is like, oh wow, I got a legendary, but it doesn't have that sense of like, oh, I worked towards getting this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there any other games that even have like one or two elements that are shooters that you do like, that are these world shooters, these with raids and stuff? Is there anything, Second Extraction or whatever that one was called, Second Extinction? I liked some of the elements of that one. But is there any other
shooter,
like, or it doesn't even have to be open world, but like Hunt? Is there any part of what parts do you like of Hunt that you've played, or what grabs you with Tarkov?
Guns?
What grabs you with those two games?
The slowness, maybe there's deliberate slow-paced things in those two games. Dude, Hunt Showdown in particular, even Tarkov does this, but Hunt Showdown is very, very focused on this, is like everything makes a sound, and you just have to be kind of mindful of like everything going on around you. It's very methodical. You set up traps, there's cool mechanics. They have like very smart things where, like, for example, you engage the boss, you can hear it from outside, you start harvesting the boss, everyone like knows that you're harvesting it. There's like really smart things they did with that game. With Tarkov, there's a lot of the loot and the progression systems is like the biggest thing about Tarkov. With Tarkov, looting things is just, it feels really good. There's like a Tetris system kind of thing where mastering it feels very good. You got like 100 skills that, like, by doing stuff, for example, by throwing grenades, you increase your strength. By running a lot, you increase your endurance. There's like so many different, player progression. The progression of like gaining more money and being able to buy better gear. That it's like long lasting dopamine, where it's like, I worked so hard to get to this point, and it feels really, really good all the way throughout.
Yeah, it's cool to look at some, I mean, in some games you can just look at the amount of time you played and the fact that you're still alive and be like, well, I've obviously played 500 because I'm still alive. I still have my level 1. That's the way Hunt felt for me, is I was just happy to be alive. Where Destiny, I looked cool. But in Hunt,
Yeah.
I was like, Dad, yeah, I got out of there. You know,
Plus
yeah,
those
like,
Victorian era weapons were awesome,
oh,
dude.
dude,
It's
they
like
were
you
so
shoot and you
good.
got to reload, and yeah, I love that shit. Yeah.
They felt good. I think that that's one of the games that also there's come from behind moments in a lot of games, but I still have my best memories ever of come from behind moments that I wasn't even the one doing it in Hunt, where
Yeah.
afterwards I was like, I will probably remember that forever. Like that is one of those moments where you're just like Arma, or one of those games where
Yeah,
somebody
when
saves
something
your
can just
bacon.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and where, by the way, the randomness that we don't like doesn't it? You can tell it's not there. You can tell that you can kill somebody because a person who, for example, when I played, the guy was brand new, and he killed the other guys who definitely were not brand new. And it was that moment where you're like, dude, he just whipped out his smoke wagon. I talk about it all the time, but it's just one of the best. I still remember him just trucking down the steps, and those guys came up to me, and I don't know how they missed him. And Takedown just took him down. It was like, oh, that was like Tombstone. What the, and I was out at the time. I was like laying down or unconscious, whatever happens to you at that point. But yeah, it was awesome. Anybody in chat? Any what are we calling these? Live service games, extraction games you're looking forward to? Any kind of these titles that you sort of want to get into in the next coming weeks? Or are you a Destiny fan? And if you are a Destiny fan, why? Like, what is it about Destiny that really grabs you? Because I think that'd be interesting. Because I don't talk to anybody who's really a Destiny fan now that I think about it. I think Cadiz
There's not many that I
bit.
really interact with. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably playing Destiny.
Yeah, true.
Right?
True.
They're probably in there playing games. Let me change the subject because I want to talk about this. This is what should I call this? We'll call this IP mishmash, because that's sort of what it is.
Oh, hell
So,
yeah. Okay.
In the chat last night and on the top of the hour yesterday, I think I ended up asking a bunch of people different questions. One of them was, if you had an IP, any IP, and you just wanted to give it to a dev, and what would you want to see from them? What would you want to see in the IP and that kind of stuff? And so we asked this question of people in the chat. We asked this question of people on Twitter. Let me bring this up because some of these answers, I feel sometimes you think you've thought of these before. You're like, I know what these answers might be and that kind of stuff. And then instead, when I got the answers, I was like, oh my God. Well, we'll start out with, I said, what was the favorite weapon in games? And I said Needler. We'll start with the generic one. Needler for you as well?
So Needler has been always, it's been always my thing, my favorite weapon. All my friends know all the things, everybody. It's just been the thing. The Lancer, I fell in love with that one, because it was just iconic. I was just like, dude, I was so blown away by the fact that it's a gun and it's a chainsaw at the same time. Yeah. It was just like the iconic Gears weapon. Those are like iconic weapons I'm fond of. Melee weapons, I can't think of like I can think of like Neo weapons for sure. I love the Tonfa so much.
Oh yeah, you did. We talked about this. Those turned out to somehow be your favorite, right? One of your favorites, at least.
Yeah. But nothing like beats that. I don't know if it's nostalgia or just the impact it had. The Needler, the Lancer, those two were like the highlights. For
so
sure.
I brought this up about the Needler, and I think the reason why it works for me is because it was a little easier as a weapon because it had some seeking. But the thing about the Needler that worked for me, dude, was there was a strategy that was underlying everything. You could have a friend who used it and they just prayed and sprayed, right? And you knew they'd hit some people. But how many times, if you got good with the Needler, would you listen to them hit and you knew exactly how many hits for their shield
or not?
Yes. And you'd hear ting, 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 and you'd be waiting. And then you'd hear it go zicking, ting, and you'd be like, ha, you're gone. And it was that. It was almost like blowing something up and walking away from it in an action movie. You were the star, and you were just like, dude, this thing is this thing is
Plus,
wicked.
like for me, it was just like I was just in love. the first thing that really got me into Halo actually was just seeing the number of the ammo on the assault rifle. It was very new to me. I was like,
so
holy
nice.
shit, right?
Yeah.
And then with the needler, even a step above, where I was like, holy shit, I can see the needles in there, and I shoot some, and some of them go away. So that was like a big thing for me. Yeah.
It was the reflection of what was really going on. You know, with those needles, when they'd go down, they'd be like, funk, 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 funk.
Yeah.
And then you'd reload them and flick the gun up, and they would shoot out like a porcupine, and like you now saw it reloaded, and it was such a good feel. A lot of people also definitely mentioned what I think we all expected, which was the gun from Gears and the chainsaw, and the idea that you were able to chainsaw somebody with a gun and gear. I think that I know for me, the first time I did it, sort of almost being confused at how awesome it was. I was just like, dude, there's a chainsaw on this gun. Like, that's who even does? It's almost like a zombie movie. It was such like
a bro game, right?
Yeah,
like it was like, yo,
the do-rags and them, the guns with mufflers for silencers, and you're just like, what is going? You know, it's such cogs. You know, everything about it just felt big
like
and beefy.
Steampunkish, kind of like shittiness to it. Everything was like, it had a shitty edge.
Doesn't it feel a little bit like it could be a Warhammer game on a backwater planet?
I just said,
Oh,
I
sorry.
just said, I was like thinking Dark Tide Necromunda type shit. Yeah, it's just like shittiness to it.
Yeah, somewhere off to the corner, there's these dudes fighting locusts, and the Imperium hasn't decided to go check it out yet, and these guys are just getting roasted, right? And there's something very, and obviously, Cliffy and all the people who made the game, there's obviously some thought processes there for why. But so we also asked everybody some IPs that they would want to see, and see people sort of go out and get, I guess I would say, the full amount of money to make these games. And I'm trying to find this question here because we had 4.5 hours. Okay, here we go. So the question was basically, grab an IP, and then what developer would you like to see that IP do? My original answer was, I want to see Riddick be made by the Coalition. So I would want to see Riddick 2, Escape from Butcher Bay, whatever you would call it, be made by the Coalition guys. I just feel like they've done Gears. They sort of know big, bulky dudes, but at the same time, not do Gears at the same time, be able to do Riddick. Riddick isn't being made. So the idea of those coming together just sort of, I think that's what actually started the convo, because I was just like, man, I would love to see this game. Is there any companies and like IPs you want to see?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see Rockstar make like everything, for sure. I'd like to see Obsidian make Deus Ex.
Oh wow, Obsidian make Deus Ex.
Yeah, I think they'd have a good shot at it.
That would be good.
Kind of. I'm thinking more like in line of Alpha Protocol and stuff like that. I'm thinking of like, what are my favorite devs?
Anybody in chat?
Remedy do their own thing. They always do their unique thing. I don't care for them to make like a certain IP. Lord of the Rings made by. Who would I want Lord of the Rings to be made by? Not From Software. I'd like to see From Software make like a more, maybe Game of Thrones or something, but or something less. Like for Lord of the Rings, I want everything to be present. I want everything to be live. I want it to be like either the Second Age or something where it's like very high fantasy, and it's not all monsters everywhere. Like there's just like there's people and large battles. Who's good at like making large scale, massive battles that you can take part in, not strategy?
Not strategy. You see, that's what I was going to say. Is the only I know that the original like Shadow of War and Mordor had the occasional times where you looked over some people coming together in a battle, but I don't think you could ever go into them. If I remember, you couldn't really...
like who did the World War Z? The Horde stuff.
Saber. I believe Saber did that,
and they're doing the Warhammer one, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. Saber's doing a lot of stuff, so it's I could be wrong on that, but
right. Yeah.
So Sekiro came up about, or FromSoft came up a bunch as well. Different worlds they want to do. Yeah. It actually dawned on me when everybody was talking about like, because FromSoft came up. You're right. Remedy came up. Also, Take-Two came up. Rockstar. But it is interesting to me that a lot of them ended up settling on Cyberpunk because the question came up, oh, let's see From Software do Cyberpunk, and somebody's like, the Surge has already been done. And you're all,
Right.
oh, okay. With
Right.
with Remedy, Quantum Break is still futuristic slash, you could call it futuristic slash. And then the only one that was left was Rockstar. The idea of like Rockstar doing, you're on a satellite, you know, like not Oblivion, what is Elysium? You know, the movie Elysium, you could possibly do that. But I think it's hard to know exactly what these developers would do with whatever it is. Like, would it be different? But when I look at LA Noire and I think of a futuristic Blade Runner detective.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
LA Noire's shit. Like that would be incredible to me. A lot of people brought up Pirates again. I think Pirates are coming back. Even though Sea of Thieves is out, I saw Pirates come up a lot. Star Wars never came up once. I actually noted that. I thought it was really interesting that nobody even mentioned a Star Wars game. So, by the way,
who would you want to see do a Star Wars game?
Rockstar would be awesome to do a Star Wars, and nobody mentioned it, which I thought was like
no, not even like in the prime time, you know, in the cities in the.
Right,
what's the prime time?
Like,
I don't know,
like
the high
Coruscant or whatever.
The Old Republic.
Yep, nobody mentioned it, which I thought was really, I guess maybe it's just telling of our Discord at that particular time, but it did seem interesting that we bounced around all these other fictions. Star Trek was brought up once. Lovecraft was brought up a couple times, but the main one that was brought up is Cyberpunk or some kind of Android Deus Ex, like you said. I don't think anybody brought up Obsidian. What about you guys in chat? What I'm looking here. I want to see Sucker Punch take on Red Dead Redemption.
What the hell?
mean he means
Wait, who's Sucker
make
Punch
their own
again?
version. Sucker Punch is the guys who did the bald superhero one, right? The Infamous.
The Infamous? I
Didn't
thought
they
Infamous
do
was made by
Infamous?
Insomniac. Wait, did they? Wait.
You might be right.
Who
I
did
thought
the
it was Sucker
Spider-Man
Punch.
devs make? Spider-Man devs made Infamous, I think.
And Ratchet and Clank. They made Spider-Man and Ratchet and
Sucker
Clank.
Punch make?
I think I'm right.
Are you right?
I think I'm right. I think that's Sucker Punch, yeah. It's been a
Then
while
who the
since
hell
an
did
Infamous game came
Insomniac
out,
do?
right?
Yeah, what did Insomniac do before Spider-Man?
It's a good question. I can't remember off the top of my head. Insomniac prior to...
man.
Let me look that up. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Insomniac Games. Let's see what they did. So we know, you know, we don't want to just keep... I mean, we obviously... Spyro?
Oh.
Yeah, Spyro. So here
Wait,
we go.
what?
Insomniac. Resistance, Spyro, Ratchet and Clank. We already knew about that. Yeah, that's pretty much... Those are the main ones.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Dude, I always thought Insomniac made Infamous. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima, Sucker Punch made Infamous. Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, that's crazy.
It goes to, thanks.
That's
I was right.
so
Okay,
weird.
so yeah, they right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay,
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Everything is aligning now. Okay, yeah. Sucker Punch would be Sucker Punch Red Dead though. Why?
Maybe what some of the other people like about Red Dead is what other people don't, and that's the honest truth is the speediness of the character movement. They might be looking at Infamous and go, dude, I'd much rather have Arthur, because I just talked to Cadiz about this. We went for this long walk and we were talking about all the games, and we both settled on why we didn't like Arthur as much as John Marston. And it wasn't that we disliked one more, it was that something caught us. And I think it's because there's less animations and things to do in the first one. And so there's a little bit more game. There's a little bit, and the second one is fantastic. It's unbelievable. I mean, come on. Like, it's one of the most unbelievable games. It's a benchmark. But I think some people look at it and go, man, it is a benchmark almost to the point to where it becomes a little bothersome, if that makes sense.
Too much?
Yeah,
I definitely see that. I don't agree with it. I love it, but I definitely see it online for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like the slow-paced, the slowness of
for me,
seeing every animation.
Don't like it. I just see that it is there. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, it is there, but I don't have the issue others do. I saw people being like, oh, he moves so slow, he blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
yeah,
he does. Jay Reaper, $10 super chat. Some of the greatest gaming conversations in Discord yesterday. Yeah, we had a good time. We had a lot of different discussions about this stuff, including, like I said, mix and matching the IPs, which I think is always interesting if it's if it's not just the same shit, which apparently we didn't do, which was always good. Let's see, what else do we have here? There's a lot of people bringing up See, here, one of the big things, too, is Ubisoft has Jade. They have, what's the other one? Jade, Hex.
Yeah.
They have one more.
The Japanese one.
Not Emerald.
Red.
Jade. Red. Yeah. And
Red.
so whenever anybody would bring up, like, Japanese and whatever, it would be like, well, Ubisoft's actually doing both of the big ones, which I think is actually... And then also, what did we find out? Witches for Hex, which is interesting. Like, you know...
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Is it like actual
crusade,
witches
but the witch
like
burnings? Yeah, I don't know.
Doctors, they think they are witches.
Dude, what if you were a witch in that? Like, using witch powers and shit. Dude, right? That'd be pretty sweet. Dean, $5 super chat just yelled out, Corey! That was one of the best Discord conversations. No one's going to understand the reference, but I appreciate you posting the reference. We had an amazing discussion, and sometimes when somebody enters the discussion late, they're just lost, and this time it was Sleeve, and it was one of the best moments ever when Sleeve thought a conversation was going one way because in his brain he saw something and read it wrong, and he was so confused by what we were saying. It was awesome. I've done it, late at night.
Yeah, for sure.
What else do we got for... Oh, a lot of people are bringing up Batman, which I think was awesome, but they were saying that they would like to see Insomniac do Batman, which I think they're pretty close already.
They are pretty close, They have the wingsuit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, don't they... Would Insomniac be a different enough feel to even really...
But they have to step up the stealth game, though. Like, Arkham had way better stealth than Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man's stealth is based on... Well, you also have the ability to hide in you got Miles' ability to go invisible.
Yeah,
with his suit anyway, which is like ultra stealth. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's not even skill based. That's just button based stealth.
That's the thing too. Is like you look at an enemy, it'll tell you, you'll get detected or not, and stuff
safe.
like that.
What does it say? Safe, danger.
Wait, did Batman do that too?
Did Batman warn you when you were taking anybody in chat? Did Batman warn you when you were taking them down if the enemy was going to be able to alert? I certainly don't remember that.
I don't remember.
I don't.
But it just felt good I remember with Batman just taking. I like the idea of like a hero like that, just taking someone one by one. But like, I think better AI would be cool with that. Like, just like being like, oh shit, where's Matt? Where's Frank? You know what I mean? And kind of, I don't know.
I like that. Where's Matt? Poor Matt, just the normal guy. That's sort of the Corey. Poor Corey. It's like all the ideas that came up. I was also not impressed, but a little bit interested that most weren't shooters. Almost 90% weren't shooters. Obsidian, or sorry, not Obsidian, but CD Projekt Red was brought up as Outer Wilds 2, which admittedly is a weird combination. Like, it's almost like small IP, huge company. Why would that? But I sort of like the idea. But they're just not good at immersion. Go ahead.
I got an idea when you said shooter. I would like the Sifu devs to make a John Wick game and kind of incorporate acrobatic kind of gunplay. You know what I mean? And like paying attention to everything. Yeah. Doing all the movements, that would be really cool.
That would be awesome. Batman did warn you, they say. Let's say, MJ, Insomniac. Yes. Alert over their heads. Over their heads wasn't there, Oregon says, but other people say it was there. You would be on the gargoyles, then you would see a bat symbol above their heads. Right, but so the bat symbol, did that indicate, what we're talking about is not that they're stealthy. Did it give you a pre-indicator that if you grabbed them, it would alert others? I just want to make sure we're clear, because there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, I don't remember it doing that. I don't know, man. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, right?
Yeah.
So that came up as well. What would be what was one of the best boss battles? And you mentioned Morg from...
I loved Mog.
Or Mog, sorry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The blood guy from Elden Ring. It just was fucking on all cylinders. It was just firing. It was very rhythmic, and you progressed. You kind of learned the moves, and there was no bullshit, and the music was awesome. The design was great. And then I mentioned another boss that I really from Returnal, the third one, because it was just like a fun roller coaster ride with a friend. Like if you're doing it in co-op. Returnal had like really cool spectacles for sure.
Josh L, $2 super chat. Avalanche doing a Waterworld game because they made Mad Max. I would kill for that. I think Waterworld was underused as an IP, sort of failed, but I think
What's
Mad Max devs know what. Waterworld was Kevin Costner, where he was on a post-apocalyptic world where the poles had flipped, and so it was mostly the ocean, and they were like he was a post-apocalyptic dude.
What would that be, like a Subnautica game, or
yeah,
or
it would have to be. And like they had the base that was based off of the Exxon Valdez giant cruise ship, so they had like bases on the big cruise ships that still, or not cruise ship, oil, that was an oil tanker, but you know they had that kind of stuff. What were we talking about prior? Because I wanted to continue that. I shouldn't have read that super chat right away.
We were talking
best
about
bosses.
Best bosses, yeah.
So mine is definitely Deathstroke in Batman Origins. Was just phenomenal. Came out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. It felt different. It felt good. But the other one is, of course, I don't know his name. But so we just called him Lord Nuts. But the dude in Sekiro who comes out and yelling.
And the horse. Yeah.
It's like one of the best moments in gaming for me ever.
Yeah. That was fun to explore the idea or find out that you can like grapple onto him and stuff and like go to him and kind of do that attack in the air and shit. You know?
When he came out, and it's like every boss you ever face, everything is always either stealth or they're monstrous or they're whatever. And instead, this dude just comes out on a horse. He calls you the fuck out. He's just like, I am blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to, and you're, it's such a different feeling in a game. And I remember just when he was yelling, I was sitting there by myself because I was reviewing it, just going like, what this is crazy. Nobody's ever just been like, I know you're there.
Yeah.
Come out here and face me. And I was like, this is awesome.
Man, Sekiro had a couple really. I remember the guy that you fought on the rooftop. I think the guy who Ashin. I don't know. Ashina,
at the end of the game, or
no. It was like it was earlier. It was this like kind of difficulty spike where you're like, oh, I get the game now. General Genshiro or some shit like that. But there was like a rhythm to it. That I like rhythm in bosses where it's like block, and you kind of get it down and stuff. It's really cool. FF16 had amazing boss fights as well. Like the Bahamut one someone mentioned, which just blew my mind. That's true.
It is funny because it has to be something just totally different for me to remember. I don't know.
Okay.
There's something about it, like
something that speaks to you.
Yeah, and it has to be because everything's a monster to me in most boss games. Oh, it's a tentacle monster. Oh, it's a character. It's a demon. She's got 3 heads. Oh, she's got a dress. And there's not anything bad. That's just that's just it. So when the guy comes out, or when I believe it was Deathstroke, when he comes out in Origins, I was just like, whoa, I was not expecting this fight to feel this way. For that part of the game, at least, I was like, I was not expecting to be called out. And it's like, there's something about removing the cloak of like stealth. And Spider-Man might try it, where like, Kraven's like, I know you're there, Spider-Man. There's something different about this one. This guy's like honorable, and he's like, I will kick your ass. And I remember dying against him and going, that's fine. I died against him. I was like, yep, let's do it again. Like that was, it was a great feeling. A lot of people, Lady Butterfly, that's Neo 1, right? Lady Butterfly is Neo 1?
Lady Butterfly is also in Sekiro, but she does remind me of the Neo second or third boss. She's the one
that's
where
who I thought.
Yeah, she's the one where, remember when you interact with the Buddha thing and you're kind of, it's like a flashback sequence or something, or like you go transported back in the past. She's the boss of that whole level.
Okay, now I remember.
You got it. Yeah.
So that's one of the problems I think with Neo and Sekiro.
I didn't like her boss though. I didn't like.
Yeah,
her.
I didn't either. But I did like that character, whatever that character was in Neo.
Neo. Yeah. The watery. Was it watery? I don't know. She was very fluid.
I just remember when I faced them, like I had told you before, like when I was done going, oh, that's a skill bump. Like that was like
Dude,
that.
You know what's crazy?
I
know what's
knew
crazy
what I was
about
doing
these
when
games, like Neo and Sekiro and all those and Dark Souls. Like when I'm fighting a big ass boss, I'm like, okay, let's go. It's a big. But when someone like a little girl or something comes, or like that scares the shit out of me, dude. Those acrobatic motherfuckers. Oh my god,
great.
dancing around me.
Yeah, when you go in and there's a little kid like dancing around near a stool, you're like, we're on now. Like, it's like put the big armor on because this little kid's gonna kick some shit. Yeah, it's so weird because I loved Armored Core. You had the big dude in the first part of the game. That's great. It's epic. But there is something, you go in and a kid's like, tee hee hee hee, and you're all, dude, no, I'm grabbing two swords because I know you're a badass. Yeah, dude. It's such a good feeling, too, when your preparation is rewarded, and that's an easy tell, obviously. But when you do get ready, and then you go in, and they do turn out to be like some demon, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, this guy is super bad. But you're like, I was just wearing my stuff because I just knew no kid's going to be here, right? It's 3 a.m. Kids should be asleep, but they're up. For sure. They're dancing around inside of an inn somewhere. You're like, that guy's evil.
It's very sus.
Yeah, it's very sus. Let's see. The sheer scale of the Forbidden West DLC final battle was ridiculous. It was. I would say besides that and Spider-Man 2's beginning, there are almost no games of that size. All of the Dead Rising boss fights were crazy, Upton says. I would agree with that. I think Dead Rising has real. I mean, I really like all the Dead Rising. I think 3's my least favorite. Yeah, they've. So depending on which game, they have these like psychos, which are hard sub. Imagine a character in like a movie that's. They're not the main bad guy, but they've got some power from the bad guy or whatever, and they just sort of slow down the good guy. That's sort of these guys. And they usually have really unique stuff. Like, I think the first one was a clown with 2 chainsaws that you met, and it was just like out of the blue. You're like, what the hell's going on? But the game didn't have the greatest control. So it was like, no matter how much they tried, you were like, this doesn't feel as good as it probably could feel.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers, when you jump on Bowser's head 3 times. Epic and legendary. It's been a long time since I've done that. I was pretty stunned by Resident Evil and Dead Rising. They have epic bosses, Upton says. Resident Evil, let's see. What's a good boss from Resident Evil? I thought the ending of 7 was actually pretty good.
Yeah, there was the end of 8. The crazy shit. Remember that one?
The ending of Village?
Of Village, yeah. Yeah, that was... it was kind of insane. It was very Japanese, very, very Japanese, very
yeah.
But it was fun, man. It was fun. Usually with Resident Evil, I don't know. It's like it kind of gives me some anxiety where it's like, oh shit, man, it's time to lose a bunch of ammo I've been looting. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, oh fuck, dude. Like,
we were talking about that in the chat too, when people are like, whenever you go into a room and there's a bunch of stuff like just laying out for ammo, you're like. Oh, dude, and at the end of every Resident Evil, someone just hands you a rocket launcher. Someone always a rocket launcher just drops. Like, boom. You just know right away. You're like, I know how this is going. It's basically putting on like the armored condom for the sex in the next moment, because you absolutely
even in Alan Wake, dude, I get to a point where it's like, oh, why is there like 20 loot containers around me?
Yeah, Alan Wake 2 definitely does. I mean, Alan Wake 1 did it as well with batteries. When you start to get more batteries than you expect in a game, you're all I don't think this is on accident. Let's see, looking at some of these other questions.
Oh Batman. God, RE5 Wesker. Oof.
Did you say Resident Evil 5 Wesker?
Yeah, someone mentioned Wesker boss fight. Yeah.
Resident Evil 5 freaky. Was what system, man? That would have been PS3 and Xbox 360.
PS3.
Okay. Yeah. Prior to me really, I would say, playing and memorizing so I could talk about those. I don't remember much about Resident Evil.
It was the first Resident Evil I played, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, 5 was the first I played.
Is 5 the one based in Africa?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I definitely remember
African
more.
Zombies.
Yeah, there was a lot of little issues there. Then we were talking about scariest part in the game, which I thought was cool because everybody had completely different answers. A lot of people brought up the VR thing for Resident Evil, but do you know what most people just said was the Alien Isolation at any point?
Alien Isolation.
It was a pretty generic answer. That
was pretty generic. I think the scariest I've been was Visage, which is like a really, really scary game. But also Alan Wake, like one of the sequences I beat like yesterday or before yesterday was fucked. It was very, very scary. But no, Visage is probably the scariest I've been.
I would say for me that the scared part comes especially when I'm not really expecting, and it's sort of something like pops up, something unexpected, whether, like you said, a kid dancing you know, and you're like, this is suspect, you know, those kind of stuff, those kind of things. But for me, what pops up is weird stuff like the Halo Flood. I remember it wasn't horror. It was like
not horror, yeah.
It was like tense and gross because there was squishy sounds. I don't know if you remember all the sound effects when you were listening to the radio and they're killing people. It's like it's all the little squishes. There was a couple others that popped up. That's the big one. I would know I would say for me, a lot of times the scary games don't really work either. It just depends on what it is, and we'll talk about that for Alan Wake and how those games work when they're aimed versus just sort of happen. Go ahead.
Someone reminded me of the Village baby sequence thing, where that was one of the only times where I was like, because the game I was having fun, I was shooting shit, I was like, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I just got off RE4 and I was like, you know what, I wanna play more stuff, so I played Village, beat it, and that section I was like, dude, I put on a walkthrough next to me, took off my headphones, looked at the walkthrough, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna copy you, I'm not even gonna interact with this. I just
wow.
The fuck out of that, dude. I didn't even want to deal with that shit.
Is that the only game you've ever done that for? Done that with?
Yeah, that's the only. I don't remember doing that with any other game. Yeah, it's the only game I've ever done that. I mean, other than like, I've done. You know, I was replaying the old God of Wars before the new one came out. Like God of War 1, 2, and I reached a point where I was like, this game got too frustrating, so I just stopped playing and watch a YouTube for the rest of it.
Yeah, I think that's different than truly horrifying, where you're like,
yeah. So I'm like, no, I don't want to deal.
So Johnny and I got to talk already about Alan Wake, as in not us, not already. So you can't. I'm just saying he's got his chance. So this Friday we won't have another get together. We'll do yours today, and then maybe we'll have a general discussion. We're trying to keep spoilers somewhat low, but like overall, what did you like? What did you dislike? You pretty much. As long as we're not mentioning names or what have you, we're good to go.
Yeah, no, I love it. There's some of these games where they might not be perfect, might not be the best game in the world, but they do the thing. They have the vibe that you just fucking dig so much. You know what I mean? Where you're just like kind of rolling with it and you're just loving it. That's one of those games for me where I mention a lot of 13 Sentinels, Disco Elysium, and Nier. And it's entering those ranks where it's like everything they do with it is really, really kind of hitting the spot for me, for sure. I'm really, really invested in the characters, really invested in the story. I love the new protagonist. I think she's amazing. I think people bothered by woke or whatever, there's reasons for everything. I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna say any more spoilers. There's I really like the shit that they do with like layering a bunch of meta stuff. You know what I mean? There's so many different layers of meta where you're like, you don't really know like how the interaction is happening or what kind of, how deep in the meta are you? Like, it's kind of like Inception, you know what I mean? Which is really cool. It's like this person wrote this person who wrote this person. I'm really enjoying the exploration. I think it's very rewarding in the sense that like a lot of stuff that I look around with in the world and like find, other than the the collectibles and shit, it enriches the plot for me. Kind of I'm a huge Remedy universe kind of person. I'm really into the lore of Control and Alan Wake. Like I know a lot of stuff, and I think I got rewarded very, very, very well for that. There's a lot of questions I've had from before. There's some still not unanswered, but there's a lot of stuff like who, I'm not gonna say anything, but who people are, and they kind of clarify some things, and I'm loving it a lot. And this is funny. Some optional puzzles are just crazy. And this is like my solution.
Don't show too much. Don't show too much. Okay.
No, I'm not. But like, it's just scribble. You're not gonna know what the fuck I'm saying. But one of them literally had me doing algebra, so which was kind of funny. What I don't like, nothing really bothered me that much. I think the biggest issue would probably be there's some bugs, a little bit of bugs. I had a thing where there's like a section you can go to where someone unlocks a door for you, and if you go back and save and quit the game, that's it. The door goes back to being locked and you can't progress any further.
Right.
But luckily I had unlocked another door, so that worked out for me. There's also some issue with like sometimes you open like a container of something to loot, but if your camera is not angled properly, you can't really pick it up. There's some like issues, some animation weirdness there. Um, visuals I love. I think it looks amazing. I think it's a really, really good looking game. And there's one section in that game where I was like just digging, like, you know, that section where it's like that section where it's just you're kind of like, fuck yeah, dude, that's cool that they did that. Yeah, so no, yeah, it's I'm really digging that game. I'm around 26 hours in. I think I'm approaching kind of the end, the finales. Yeah,
it's pretty stunning. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but you look at 25, the Axios, the website, broke down the top games, top rated games every year, and which ones hit the top, and this is the year with the most top rated games, which is 25.
I saw that graph. Yeah, it's insane,
and
man.
Even if you take into account more games this year, which they didn't do, but if you do the division a little bit, you start going like, well, there's more games too, so it's 25 an average, and blah blah blah. It's still higher than any other game, or any other year. And it is crazy to me that almost every single genre is represented. Like that, I think is what's nuts. Is, for example, if Mario Wonder hadn't come out, I don't know if I would be talking about a 2D game. I'm sure somebody can remind me and probably be like, you're an idiot, there's 10 2D games. But when I look at Mario Wonder, I'm like, oh my God, this game looks fantastic. And it's like almost every genre is got something in it that's, you know, I don't like the ratings, but I'll just say is considered very good. Very sure.
Good.
Perhaps
we had like RPGs, open world games. We had shooters, zombie games, Final Fantasy, another Bethesda game.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing that's interesting to me is it's not just that the genres are fulfilled, the console platforms are fulfilled, and that's going to be even cooler when you get Switch 2. But like right now, you've got the, you know, Switch 1 has got, you know, Mario Wonder. It's going to have Mario RPG next month, right? Next month after, whatever. Every system has a couple games, and then PC, of course, has 80% because it's not exclusive. So there's like a sort of a thing there. But dude, it's pretty impressive because I know with Alan Wake, I don't like it as much as I like it. I don't like it near as much as like those people are saying, you know, it's the best game of all time or whatever. It's not, to me, it's not even in like the top 10. But what it is a representation of Western storytelling, which I like better than better than like Asian, Japanese. I'm not into the Resident Evil storylines as much. The story
in this fucking trumps Resident Evil. Okay, it's not.
Even I mean, and even if it like throws you for a loop at times, it's pretty. It's not as much John Carpenter as it is like Dean Koontz, which admittedly might be one of the weaknesses I picked up on because I do like John Carpenter. But when you're playing it, you're just like, damn, man. Also, Resident Evil 4's DLC came out. Resident Evil 4, what didn't another Resident Evil come out? The Ada Wong.
Yeah.
There's horror games. There's just all these different games. And I, you know, if you'd asked me a couple of months ago, I mean, I even said it. I was worried how they'd sell because I don't know if you saw, but they just now have made money. They're starting to make money on Alan Wake Remastered this month. That's how long it's taken.
I saw
for them to recoup. And I was telling you that I was like, dude, these do not sell. Like, please sell. And that's the thing I was so happy about is I was like, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. I could have hated it. I want that thing to sell a big gajillion copies, dude, so that I can go. Now Remedy can do, you know, whatever he wants. And you hear Sam Lake talk during interviews, and this is the big difference. And I'm not calling them out, but I want to point out a difference between them and Insomniac because I found this quite interesting. People bitched about the Mary Jane stealth missions, I guess, in 2. Like, fans, it got to the developer. And one of the developers was like, well, we could have done what you guys wanted and not done it at all. Or we could have done it and made her more powerful. Not improved it, but just made it more powerful. And then you hear Sam Lake talk about making his game, and he's like, well, it's what the fans want. And not to be rude towards Spider-Man 2, because I really enjoyed Spider-Man 2. But at some point, I think it's okay to kill the dead horse. Where you're like, okay, this is not... And they were like, oh, it tells the story, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now that I've played it multiple times and looked at it, I'm like, listen, man, I love your game. That's not telling a good story. Whatever you may think you're doing, you might be inside it, you know? Like when you have an argument with a friend and you think you're explaining yourself, and they're like, "Dude, I don't know what you're talking about." That's how I felt with the stealth missions in Mary Jane. They were like, "Well, she's more powerful," and I'm like, "Yes, that means less." Now
and they
we're
shoehorned one in a place where I didn't want it to be shoehorned.
Right, in
but
a place
anyways,
where
go on. Yeah.
And I was just gonna say it's great to hear Sam Lake talk, because he did this interview with Ted Price, and Ted pretty much just let him talk and just asked him a couple questions, and Sam Lake just talked, and it was very cool how every single thing he said. And again, remember that I don't think Alan Wake's the greatest game of all time, but every single thing he said was towards, does it deliver to the gamer, or does it inform the gamer, or it wasn't about them forcing it on you. It was like, this is what we want to do, but what is going to work for the gamer the most? And I thought that was awesome. And admittedly, there's a lot of walking in the game because you're not Alan Wake, the motorbike driver. Like, it doesn't make sense to have him,
Alan Walk.
Yeah, Alan Walk. Alan Walk. I missed opportunity in the review. But yeah, man, it was awesome. I'm glad you liked it. Like,
yeah, no, I love it.
Well.
It's surprising to me though, how they make such a complex story without making it like stupid and convoluted, like Kingdom Hearts or Metal Gear or whatever. It's just very good writing, I think, and performances. Like, I'm very happy with every character, actually. Saga, I didn't know I would like that much, man. But there was one scene in the very beginning of the game when she was talking to Rose. You might know Rose from
I know Rose.
1. And just
boy,
the reaction.
Did that not hit for me. Whew!
Oh, dude,
that hit for you?
Her face. Yeah, when she was like smiling but like trying to be nice, but at the same time like very confused. Yeah, I saw like someone real there. Yeah.
That is hit for so interesting. Yeah, because I don't even bring up a lot of even the names right now because we're so early. Right. Yeah, so to hear you say, because I know the exact thing you're talking about, and it's interesting to see that we both come off of that completely separate. But again, it doesn't really. In the end, I just don't think it matters too much, because at some point, why argue? People can get and argue about the game of the year. It's just cool to be like, dude, it's obvious the game rocks. And at some point, can we all just say, you got to Mars? Let's just celebrate that.
And it's not for everyone, right? Yeah.
It's not, but it's for a lot of people, apparently.
True. Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you say that
it's surprising to me, because that type of game and the slow-paced stuff, I didn't expect that many people to like it, but a lot of people do, and that's cool to see.
I mean, yeah, I think
I want them to do more.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and that's the best thing about Remedy is, it'll probably take 20 years, right? Who knows how long it'll take, but it's so nice to see, because and I'll get even more into it. I bet you in a year or two, I probably won't. I don't know if I'll revisit it, but the DLC will come out, jump back in. And there's things I dislike, but I also dislike some things in Control, and I certainly dislike some things in Alan Wake. But the strength of it is that usually pretty quickly I'm still like, yeah, okay, I like it. I like it pretty much the best, or maybe, second or third place in maybe Mass Effect at one time was higher when it came to the world, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, I think what I like a lot about Remedy is the way they present the experience in so many different kind of ways and mediums, kind of all combined. There was one thing I always talked about that I liked in Control, or like a couple things where it's like I loved like the big title in the middle with the big, the big font and stuff, and like the little. But they took the parts of what I like kind of this like presentation and just like kind of blew it up. I feel like they're good at making, like, having the, like, why is this a game and not a movie? I think the answer is what Remedy does with their games, is like how they kind of present a linear story and in ways that can only be done in games.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to see that as a story. As a movie. I wouldn't want to see it as a TV show. I mean, they could cut some stuff, but there's some repetition on purpose in there. On purpose, it's for the story and stuff like that I don't think would play out well as a TV show. I would probably, or you'd have to trump it up. I guess you'd have to like amp it up almost for a TV show. Where with Alan Wake they can sort of just be like, Alan's like, what? You know, like he's like the stoned cat in a GIF. He's
Right.
just like, what's going on? And I like it.
And they
it worked well.
incorporate incorporate like the novel medium and the TV show movie medium and the music. The music in that game is another medium they incorporate into the storytelling, where you pay attention to the lyrics of the songs. You know, you can find out some stuff there.
It does suck because under embargo there was some things like you're just not really. And then of course it's a review, so there's like some music I was like, I don't want to say who's in this or who's doing this, but I in the review I wanted to point out, because one of the things I pointed out in the review is at the end of each chapter, that music is just really good. The lyrical music, the song stuff. And I remember the one or two of the songs, listening to the words, and I think I had subtitles on and being like, wait, what? Like, that all makes sense. Like, there's a lot of, somebody is a poet, because it's like, they're not only writing the story, it's obviously Sam Lake, but it's, and his writers, by the way, I don't want to just say him, but
yeah, for sure.
It's it's obvious they know their stuff, because how many times have you heard, even on a creepy show, even if there was voice, it wouldn't, it'd be like, there's stuff in the darkness. And you'd be like, yeah, whatever. But that's not Alan. There's way more context in some of the wording in Alan Wake than you would ever see from some Gennaro dude writing for CBS and Fringe or something.
And it's not like pseudo-intelligent. It's just like,
exactly.
It works.
Exactly. It actually nails it. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. I think those were all good.
One of the I think there's like a manuscript or something where I was like, this is not written very well or something like that. But then in the game they were like, yeah, this is not written very well. Yeah. So it was like very new, you know what I mean? And there was like reasons and shit. But
the best part is when Alan Wake is doing his Alan Wake thing as Alan Wake. Yeah. That's the best part. When he comes in, and he's like, the tides brushed against the seams of my crotch, and you're like, I don't know what's happening. But this is awesome, it's the best part.
Casey stuff too, man. I really,
we won't go there as much, but I will say that was surprising. And then I think I know. See, I probably am not as impacted by the thing I think you're mentioning when many people say the moment in the game. Yeah, I think I understand the moment. But I've been surprised before where I thought they meant a different moment. I think I know what moment you're talking about. But I will say, the second
part of Alan Wake's story, basically.
The best part about it is that without that, so if that doesn't hit for a person, it's still going to be, if they like Western storytelling and it'd still be amazing. They don't need to hit that. If that big part doesn't come up, I would still look at the game and the same rating would occur, the same whatever. But a little bit of that, whoa, what the hell? There's an audacity that happened when Insomniac said, we're going to have the start of the game just be so you get slapped across the city. And in Alan Wake, they're like, we're going to blah, 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 blah. And then you see it and you're all, what in the hell is going on in this game?
Did you, there was a part, did you watch a whole thing, a movie in the game?
Do you mean the,
it wasn't as long as a movie.
You can DM me, movie. But I don't want to.
I found that hilarious. But anyways,
I think it's the same thing that happened in one. If you're talking about the stuff on the TVs, I don't want to go too far.
There is that. There is another thing, involving a very integral person. Well, with it's. I'll just.
DM me. I just want to make sure that there's nothing that goes out of the. Goes out of the podcast that somebody's like, because that's if I think you're thinking about what we're talking about, I don't even want to mention it.
Yeah,
where are you doing? Oh, Discord.
It's better not to mention it. Yeah, it's better not to.
Sorry,
say
peeps.
anything.
We're just we want to make sure that we're giving you guys.
That was really fun. It just seems like he's having a lot of fun with this game, and I love that. It's just like he's making something he loves and just like having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, we can't mention that.
Yeah.
But there's also something that happened. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of cool things in the game. There's because you're not done. There's but I think it's sort of in line with what you're talking about. So, but I definitely think all that's cool. I think as a game, the one thing I do like about Alan Wake is there's a chance that it might have other companies who are not Japanese style horror, The Ring. Resident Evil, Silent Hill. I said The Ring as a movie, but you get my drift. Those. Yeah. It would be nice to get Alone in the Dark doing well. I don't know if it will. It looks pretty rough. But if that did well, I would love it.
Silent
I
Hill.
love the idea. Silent Hill is still Japanese to me.
Oh,
Silent
is it?
Hill is still,
Okay.
yeah. Even though it's in America, it's sort of the way it's delivered is. People can argue with me, and they'd probably be right. But in my brain, it feels more closer to a Resident Evil than it does Alan Wake 2. But
Gotcha.
also, when you played Alan Wake 1, you played the DLCs, and then you jumped into 2.
Yeah.
Did you?
And
I
Control
was
DLC.
really bothered with 2's, with Alan Wake still being stoved up. He still
Stoved
felt
up as in-
cumbersome. His movements, his
Oh.
animations, it
Gotcha.
all felt really cumbersome
He's
in a
stiff.
new game. Did that impact you at all, or did you just
I don't
ignore
think
it? Did
so.
you notice it? Did you?
I didn't notice it. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think. But it's but his but his like his segments are just crazy, man. I don't even like. I'm just like nothing. It's nothing makes sense. And like level design wise, there's a lot of crazy weird shit.
Yeah.
Plus, like the way that's something that like I don't know if I have an issue with it, but it fucks with me all the time. Is like the way enemies are handled in his side of the story. It just, dude. Last night, oh man, there was just like so many of them, and yeah. There's some moments where it's like, oh fuck you, where the game is just trying to like,
Yeah.
is just trying to fuck with you.
It is funny because, so here's my thing. This guy's got a 180, or they have a 180 spin move. Double click the thumbstick and you can spin. But if I try to turn that dude 30 degrees, he gets shin splints. He can do it in 1 hour. So like if I want to turn like this, and this bothers me, man. If I want to turn to the left, he goes like this. If I want to spin, it's instant. And it sounds so dumb, but what that does is it tells me how I know every encounter will play out, if that makes sense. Because I'm like, the developers know he can't turn. Now, on the mouse he can, but they still have to identify the game as being playable with gamepad. So there's a certain thought process they're going to have in all of their interactions. And the moment I tried to turn, and she does the same thing. I remember I was running in the first area with all the forest. You're just sort of walking around, you're talking to your partner. And I remember going around a corner and there was a rock. And my character, she goes like, something about her moved really weird. And I was oh no, this is going to be a little
some weird
rough.
animation stuff, man.
It feels old. It feels old in some of the animations for sure. With their movement, I think, would be the enemies are fine. And his animations already looked pretty cool in the original with him like tripping and trying to get under somebody. And that's all mimicked, which is nice. But yeah, I did notice that. Also, what's your performance like?
I don't want to say. I'll piss off a lot of people, man.
No, you won't. Just because you have a 4090 and you got it off of the backs of other people who've working really hard.
Wow, Jesus.
I'm just joking.
Jesus. No, I'm doing DLAA with frame gen, getting well, the forest is the most taxing, so I'm only getting around 110 to 120 there. Sometimes 110 to 120 with frame gen. So without frame gen it'd be sometimes under 60.
Yeah.
But other than the forest areas, it goes up to like 180, 170, 180. Everything turned on, but yeah.
I mean, if you have to know that you're not doing ray tracing without the more powerful cards in any game. Yeah. And then it's even more so here. Yeah, performance isn't great, but I would say it's certainly it's luckily not the unoptimized mess we've seen in some other games. It's just like, it's not Lords of the Fallen, it's not City Skylines. It's nothing as City Skylines at all.
Plus Low looks really good.
Low looks good, yeah. Low looks good. And the characters' faces, I still think, so I don't like to get into the who's the best kind of thing, because then you're going to have to break down and look at animations and mocap. But I will say it's definitely in there. When you see somebody's face and the veins and the animations,
even from
of their
the very
faces.
beginning, when you're talking to that first cop, like the way he kind of moves his head and stuff, I was like, whoa, Jesus. Yeah.
And won't say anything other than I liked the callbacks of characters and notes from 1 and all the other games.
I know exactly what
that
you're
I
talking about.
thought were really cool. Where I was like, and it sucks to do a review, because the moment it popped up, I was like, dude, I just really wish I could talk about this. And
yeah,
I know that everybody thinks spoilers are different, I'm like okay if it's in the wiki as long as it's not in the summary. I'm okay with some things. I'm okay if you understand the game. But I was sort of mad about that because I was like, I would love to just show somebody the awesomeness of this one like,
Right.
you know, even if you put it at the end and say, here's a couple story spoilers, but only in the first 2 chapters or something, and you show some people or you show some, it would be great because there's sort of there's this awesome point that happens where I remember running into a couple people and reading a couple papers and just being like, man, this is such good fan service, and they're not allowing. They're not allowing us to trump it up.
Yeah, that must have, dude. Like I got I was like super hyped because of like there was a character, and the only reason you would know about that character is by talking to someone in Control for like 4 times. You have to keep talking. There's like a lot of crazy shit like that. There's like little hints of like they made connections with like Quantum Break and Max Payne that were way more than Easter eggs, but they were skirting around the IP. You know, they were like just skirting around the ownership. Where I was like, holy shit, you know, where I was like, you know, so there's a lot of stuff where I get it because I just kind of want to talk to people about it. Where it's interview time, you just
it just sucks because it's like, and then this is gonna sound really weird, but the people who weren't sold on it, I'm not saying everybody would be sold, but it would be lovely to be able to sell people on it who are maybe looking for those moments. And if you if you mentioned one, they're like, okay, I get it. But instead you're just like, yeah, some stuff, you know, some stuff happens, and some shit here and there.
I firmly believe you should play the first game, and you should not.
Dude, it's not even. Yes, it's like, can you ignore it? Yes. Should you? No.
You should.
There's a huge difference between watching Alan Wake and playing it, not only for the interactions and all that kind of stuff, but also some of the choices that you, not that you necessarily make. Well, yeah, I guess in the second one that you sort of make, but and the way things play out, you really should be playing the first one or two.
Yeah. And even Control, I would say, dude, like there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Control, Quantum Break there's some connect. You know, those are less important. I think Alan Wake's the most. Then you have Control would be second, and then Quantum Break.
So many, like, dude, there's so much shit from Alan Wake that's just you finally, you know, I can't, but it's just, you know, you gotta, because everything you'll be like, holy shit, oh my god, and the dominoes will start falling and stuff if you play Alan
People
Wake
in chat, what do you think of Alan Wake 2? Have you played it? What are your thoughts on Alan Wake 2? Because I do want to hear. I think we've pretty much, you know, talked as much as we can around it without spoiling anything, because we don't want to spoil anything.
Also, the Mind Place. Did you talk about the Mind Place? I think that's an awesome, cool.
You know, Johnny brought up. I distinctly feel I made a huge mistake in my review by not bringing this up. Johnny brought up the speed at which and you saw his review that he did in our Discord, but he brought up the speed at which the Mind Palace and the plot board pop up. Yeah, which would have gone another step. I mean, I have no issue with my review, but it's like I would have liked to have mentioned that because I think it is a positive, and normally I wouldn't. There was a lot of embargo bits that I was nervous about, and I was like, can we even, for sure. You know, what is too much, and can you show? Oh, you can't show it because there's writing on it, so it's like I got to blur every index card out, or what? It was becoming, you know, and I don't have. I mean, a lot of people have editors, I don't, so it's just like I have to know that when I solidify the video, I probably have to spend another 2 hours blurring, going in, cropping, blah blah blah. But Johnny brought up that the speed at which everything works is much faster, and so it feels like the Mind Palace is just there all the time. It feels like the plot board for Alan Wake is just there. I will say, they're okay, but they did not do nearly what I thouate they would do when I was done with the game.
Same. I thought. So for me, I thought it was gonna be straight up like freeform Sherlock Holmes clues.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, but I see what they did.
Lies and punishments, or punishments and whatever, the Sherlock Holmes game.
Yeah. But it was more of a way to keep track of everything.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It did have me like predict stuff, which is cool, but it wasn't like gamified or involved in there. Like I did like do investigation in my head, but it's just stuff where I was like, oh, my theory is that this happened, but yeah, it's not like gamified. There's nothing in game where you solve other than the puzzles and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
and maybe they did that. Maybe that's why the puzzles are so arcane, because these are beyond arcane, by the way. I just want to make sure I point it out. If you have 100 puzzles, let's say you have 20 puzzles in this game, 10 are easy,
Yeah.
5 are pretty odd or difficult, 3 you may not even find, and 2, if you find, you probably still can't figure it out. I mean, there were puzzles in there where I'm like, what?
Dude,
in the
I literally
shit?
did algebra in
Like
my,
you said,
on my
you did
paper.
algebra. Yeah,
Full
to try
on
to figure it out.
algebra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to equate 2 equations to each other and solve for a variable.
Very
literally.
cool, though. Like, to me, I'm totally
awesome,
fine
man. I
with
love
them just risking it all and being like, dude, you got to figure it out, man. You know, like,
And if
if it
not,
was
there's
so
Google.
easy, it wouldn't make sense. And what'd you say?
Yeah.
Say that again.
If not, there's Google. So
If
you
not,
know
there's
what I mean?
Google. Yeah, exactly.
But,
if not,
but
there's
no,
Google.
I would recommend, like, what's cool is that at least a lot, like, the puzzles, all of their solutions are around. Like, there's nothing like you know what I mean? Like, you can solve them.
Oh, I don't think that's correct. I would say all of the information you need to solve them is around, but you may do some solving in your head. If that makes sense.
That's what I mean.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So
I just want to make sure
all
that's
the
clear.
information you need is around you. It's there.
Absolutely, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Looks like a bunch of people here are talking about it. Some are asking about the fan serviceness of 2 and making it difficult if you haven't played 1. I firmly agree. I think that they basically at some point probably said, we need to shit or get off the pot. And they have what happened on Alan Wake, I believe, at the starting of it. Am I wrong? They do have a kind of a don't they have a?
They just use Saga to kind of like
tell the story. Right.
But I would have been so lost if I don't know everything. Like there's, oh man, there's so many little details that just they speak louder when you know what's going on. Yeah.
Chris asks, are there any connections to Control? Connections, I don't want to go that strong, but obviously there are, because they've now solidified Control as being like sort of the main skeleton of this altered reality experience, which is what Alan Wake is. So
I have theories about the FBC and Alan Wake, but I still haven't beat it, so I don't know if it's substantiated. But yeah, it's there in the world.
Oh, okay. I see I get what you're saying. I couldn't understand what you're saying because I keep thinking you beat it, but I get what you're saying now.
Beat it.
It doesn't, in the end, though. If you have somebody who likes this and you don't, or if or if you love it, whatever, and you're hearing people bitch about it, I will just say that 2023 is like the first year where I was joking about this yesterday. I was saying that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what somebody says about the game that you like. There's so many games that you can literally just talk over them now. Like, there used to be that time, right, where you sort of had to fight a war to get your game noticed. We're so far beyond fighting a war to get your game noticed, it is actually laughable in a weird way. It's so, if you say you love something and I don't love it, I could bitch about it, which is fine. We can all do that and joke around, but you could just continue. Like, you could jump to another game that would be awesome. Yep. You can continue to talk about that. And there's so many games that are excellent in 2023 that it's past this weird time where it's like the idea, even, I was talking to Josh, the idea that he's played even 80% of the games I've played is very low. Very low. And so if I don't like a game, sometimes he doesn't even know the game name. It's just like, dude, there's so many games out. I don't even know what game you're talking about.
Yeah,
and
like, what the fuck is that?
It's awesome and a little scary. It's a little shitty because I think the compression language that even we use in the podcast, where I'm like, remember in Alan Wake? Well, that's what this character's like in this game. And there's compression, and and you're like, I gotcha. That's gone in some conversations I have, where a little bit of that coolness of where everybody like has that, like, there's something awesome about that compressed style of language that 2023 is sort of shat on.
Communal.
Yeah, it's just
it's very divided.
So much.
Did you try out Jusant or no? Jusant.
Oh, the climbing
game.
Yeah, I tried it out a little bit. I like what I saw, but I got to admit to you, I can't talk about. There's a review coming up, but any game where you're climbing, even if it's third person, there's a small chance I'll get motion sickness.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And there's something about high games, and this happened even in Primal for a very brief moment, but when you're on a cliff and you're looking for a climbing pole or you're doing all this, at some point my brain sort of checks out. And it did that enough with that game that I had no issues against it. I was just like, I'm probably not going to want to play this because I believe it could slightly impact my enjoyment.
Gotcha.
Of it.
Yeah,
And that one, more than others, impacted me pretty quickly.
Yeah, my friend's the same way with high places. I remember playing Dying Light with him, and he would just when we have to climb the towers, he would just he'd get a lot of motion sickness. But I think it's a very well designed game. I played it for like 30 minutes or so. I think it looked really good, and it's just very well designed. I like the mechanics they have there for sure.
I think overall it is for sure. Everything I've seen looks like it's good, which is another reason where it's rare, but when I look at a game and I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to affect me. And so it would almost be like somebody who has the
lactose intolerance.
Yeah, where it's good, but you don't want to eat it, or maybe you have an emotional issue with a certain thing, like we talked about prior to the podcast, gambling. And if it's a gambling game, you might be like, this probably isn't the best bet, for me to do this one. So, by the way, I wasn't saying I had an issue with gambling. We were actually talking about, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the
games and kick.
Yeah, and people, what they do with their insane amounts of money, or what I would do. I'm always nervous. I'm always happy I don't have a lot of cash. Christopher Jetzer says, ACG, have you seen the PC requirements for Avatar? Some YouTubers are suggesting that native res is no longer relevant in modern games. Everything needs upscaling.
What is the hate with DLSS recently? Have you been seeing that?
People, because some games have been delivering a bunch and they need DLS to do it, and some games have been delivering what I think could be arguably considered to not be a bunch, and they still need DLSS.
So that's when they're unoptimized.
And it's very difficult to know because, by the way, like I've talked to John a couple times about it on Digital Foundry, where I'm like, hey man, in fact we were talking about, I can't remember, another game just 2 days ago where I DM'd them on something like, are people tracking this weird? Because the numbers they're saying don't seem to be yours and they're not mine. And then once you do get the numbers, you have to identify, is that unoptimized? I mean, should it be run? What should it be doing? With Avatar, I don't know anything about what they're about the suggesting native res. I would say that Avatar's got a lot going on.
For sure. I just think DLSS looks better than TAA though. Like I think I would
both
take
of them
DLSS
look better than TAA gets blurry, right? It's just really, it needs sharpening all the time, it feels like.
Like the fine details, I don't know, the geometry kind of gets fucked, but with DLSS, I think it looks really, really good. I don't have a problem with it. DLAA is obviously better, but DLAA would be like the thing. I really, like, I was switching back and forth between DLSS and DLAA, and I really have to pixel peak to notice that much of a difference on my 1440p.
I have no issues with DLSS at all whatsoever. As long,
but you're right. I mean, if it's unoptimized, it's unoptimized.
Yeah, if it's unoptimized, it's unoptimized.
If it's allowing them to push stuff, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at Avatar, there's, you're flying around, you're doing what Horizon did, flying around. It is funny, we celebrate this on consoles every time. They're upscaling on consoles. This is amazing. Look how intelligent they are. And then the moment it comes to PC, it's the V8 fan who gets mad the turbo is in his race division or whatever. And you're like, oh, how dare you? You don't have enough cylinders. But I do understand that some people are like, man, what if they just use it? But I do want to point something out. DLSS requires a certain number of frames to work. And so we could get to that point to where you're even worse off now, and where DLSS isn't working well, and you go and look and you're like, do you know why? It's not even getting enough frames to run DLSS well, which Skylines is that. Skylines is for sure unoptimized, just not ready. It's not ready.
Yeah.
What I saw of Avatar personally, and the people I've talked to who played Avatar, and I really wish I had gone, but this event didn't work out for me on the technical end. They're very happy with it. So, and these are people who I would say aren't pro or negative Ubisoft. They're just sort of like, people I trust, they a lot of times aren't doing reviews. They're, whether it be podcast people or whatever, and you talk to them and they're like, yeah, man, it's really good. Like, it's very fun to play. Will that continue for 20 hours? Who knows?
That's the question with Ubisoft games, right? But
Yeah.
it did, like, watching the previews before. I had zero interest because I don't really like Far Cry and I don't really care about Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw previews, it just separated itself a lot from Far Cry. When I saw like what they were doing, there's a lot of verticality and like jump off and like summon your mount midair. There's a lot of cool traversal things, a lot of environmental puzzles. Some people like, there's not that Far Cry type of like things have to happen every 5 seconds where you're getting bombarded by enemies, but more so like there's a lot. I think it's more exploration heavy, and you can bump into a lot of cool, environmental things and puzzles and stuff, which is interesting me a lot, a whole deal more. It reminds me of things like Breath of the Wild, things like Gods and Monsters, Phoenix Rising.
Yep.
I like those things a lot more than just like always combat. Yeah.
You Mad Dog, $5 super chat. Again, thanks for the super chats, guys. They do help the channel big time, or being a patron. Hope you guys had a good Halloween. Karak, are you able to share details of your experience with Legion Go? Yes, I am. We'll talk about it in a second. I would say that when we look at Avatar, the big problem I have is that I feel that Ubisoft hasn't done a great job PRing it. And that's the thing. I would rather have them, get it out in front of people early, because Avatar's already come and gone as a movie. So you're not going to be able to live on that. I mean, that's gone. It's like, Avatar's a movie. It's like, okay, great. It's a big blood. That was months ago. It's like the game.
Last time I watched Avatar was like 20. When did it come out? The first one?
Well, there was like the new one. I don't know. Maybe you didn't even see the new one.
Yeah, I didn't watch the new one.
Yeah, there you go.
It was just like a thing I watched a while ago. Like, it never entered my brain after that.
Yeah. I like that Ubisoft, regardless of all the shit we give them, they do attempt weird things. If Phoenix Immortals Rising, I liked. I know a lot of people didn't. And then you got Primal. Primal's not a attempt at something massively weird, but it was weird. Blood Dragon. They succeed, they fail. I like what I'm seeing, but it could turn out to just be terrible.
Say what you want about Ubisoft, but they're good at making worlds, man. They're good at world building. Yeah. So that world really, plus the graphical fidelity, the look of it reminded me of Horizon. It just looked really good.
Yeah, if they can fix, and by the way, it's funny you mentioned Horizon, dude. In the chat, somebody was talking about Horizon Forbidden West. They both Horizon original and Forbidden West. The cycle burned them out far quicker than it did me. Because a game is a cycle. You need a cycle to actually call it a game. Really, at some point, it's not a game. It's just that's an activity that's chaos. If you go out and it never repeats.
Gameplay loop.
Yeah. And they were talking about that loop repeating and burning them out, and I was like, man, that's interesting. But then I went back and looked at the game, and I looked at a guide for the game, and I saw how the game's missions worked and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, man, they're there. Ubisoft just has I don't know what it is. It's more noticeable, or there's something about the way they do their cycles that it's really quickly noticeable. It's a cycle. Yeah. There's just, that's why world events worked so well in Valhalla, because they changed out the missions, the main missions. They did world events, and for a while, a lot of people were like, "Dude, that's sweet. Like, that's the way to do it."
I think context matters a lot in these cycles for sure, and I think sometimes they don't have the best context surrounding, like, outposts. Oh, yeah, this is my 5th outpost. There's not like there's not enough difference there in the context of it, or like, why am I doing this, or maybe difference in structure or something like that.
It's also interesting too when you play a Far Cry 2, and I always hear people talk up Far Cry 2, so I was like, okay, man, I'll check it out again.
Oh God, I hated Far Cry 2, man.
Well, it's not only that; it's that it has the same problems, if you call them problems, that the newer ones have, and it's rose-tinted glasses a little bit. It's that there weren't as many games, so you don't have as many comparisons. And then a game didn't say do better than those, so now you can't compare it to a better game. You're still comparing it to the older games. But it's like, I'll hear people talking about Far Cry 2 or whatever. I'm like, dude, man, I just played that. This just happened with Assassin's Creed, with Mirage, where I was like, you guys need to best prepare yourselves, because if you think the original Assassin's Creed were premier gameplay titles, no. They weren't at all. I mean, and I love them. I love them.
They were just new, you think?
They were new at the time. They were still very clumsy, very broken many times. We're talking about the original one, the one I love, Brotherhood. I love Syndicate. And I'm replaying Syndicate. I just beat it, but I was replaying Syndicate going, damn, it's of its age.
Awesome stealth, right? Like it did.
Well, it had okay stealth. I liked its faster. It was more visceral combat, I guess you would say, and I liked the environment. I don't know if the stealth I would say I loved or was distinctly different. But it's that, yeah, man, you play those older games and you're like, wow, we were just not, there weren't as many examples. And when you go back and play them, you're like, dude, this is not great. It's not that it's bad. It's that it's not to the lofty, illusionary thought process that some people have where it's like Mount Olympus. And you're I don't think so. Yo, Mad Dog. Oh, you were asking about the Legion Go. So, yeah, I'll work through this pretty quickly. Legion Go, what is it? $750, I think, for the Legion Go. Basically, the Legion Go is a little bit like the Ally. It's just a bigger screen. It is almost identical in power to the Legion, to the Ally, except it's got faster memory. And so what you end up getting is a system that's 8.4 inches instead of the Lenovo's, which is like in the 7 time frame, or in the 7 size frame. And dude, so here's the problem with all these systems. I go in, I get the system. First of all, easily the most comfortable handheld I've ever used. Bar none. Not even Switch and it. I'll be more realistic. Switch and it. Totally super comfortable. I'm like, damn, man, this thing's comfortable. And it's bigger. And it's way more comfortable than One X Player 2. Like, not even in the same 50 yards. Like, it's ridiculous. Damn. And I don't mind the One X Player 2. It is. Yeah. Here's the issue. Every single thing with the Legion has a caveat. Every single thing has a caveat. So, is it more comfortable? Yes. Why? Because it's got a way smaller battery than the One X Player, and the Konami or whatever that other one is. It's got like a much larger battery. So the battery doesn't really last that long. It lasts a little bit longer, that I've noticed at least, than the Ally. Is it a bigger screen? Yes, it is. Is it better resolution? Yes. Is it the same power? Yeah. Faster memory. But what do you get? About 2 to 5 delta in your frame rate between the Ally and this. So you get a bigger screen, but about the same frame rate. So you're not really getting anything ultra more powerful, which makes sense because it is a bigger screen. It looks good. But guess what? The bigger screen's portrait, not landscape. It's 1610, not 16:9, which causes some old games to crash. It's got software that I think is better than the Ally's software, but at times, just like the Ally's software, it just crashes. And dude, I'm telling you right now, as I'm playing this, I'm like, this is good. This is good. By the way, gamepads, best ones ever. Awesome. They feel great. They're Hall sensors.
You can detach
them.
They're
longer.
Right?
I believe so. Yeah. Because I just got this last night. I'm trying to. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can take off the tops. You can. They're longer. Everything just feels better. You've got the mouse control on the right one, so you can take it out. And you can use it as a mouse. Which, by the way, I would never in history ever use. But I absolutely know that if somebody's buying a super powerful handheld, they may want to do that. Like, it's an ultra powerful handheld. Why would I not do it? All that's there, dude. But I'm telling you, man, you get it and you turn it on, and there's 2 issues you notice right away. One, the speakers are terrible. Dude, they're terrible. They are not good speakers.
That's weird, man. On my Legion laptop, it's fine. It's weird.
It's because these are facing down. And whatever happened with the One X Player, which they do have a slight adjustment, they sound a little better. These are facing down. They don't sound great at all compared to like the Ally. If you go from the Ally to this, you're probably going to go, what's going on? This sounds terrible. However, guess what? It runs cooler by like a ton of degrees, 10 Celsius or what. It's ridiculously cooler than the Ally. So it's got that positive. The software, like I said, their software works. You jump in, it works pretty well, but it doesn't do half the stuff the other softwares do because it's new. You have, like I said, the portrait. You jump in there. You've got what I consider to be a fairly powerful system with a smaller battery. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't ding the Ally for this. Like, that would be it would be pretty unethical to be like, oh yeah, the Ally's got issues, but this doesn't. They both have issues with battery life. And if something is going to be mobile, and I get it, somebody will say, I never had my Ally unplugged in 5 months. I don't care. That has nothing to do. We are talking about a mobile, and we're talking about the battery life. It doesn't matter if you somehow give it battery wirelessly because you're on an alien planet. We're talking about the actual system everybody's going to get. And this system's battery is donkey shit. It's the same kind of situation you're going to get with the Ally. It seemed to last a little longer for me, but it's not the type of battery you would want. It's not the type of battery.
Ballpark? Like how many hours?
Ballpark would be probably on high 70 to 80 minutes, depending on your performance. Man. You know,
that's
if you
like
have it maxed.
Leap. Why haven't they taken that leap yet in battery?
Well, because they did a smaller battery. It's a lighter system, and it's very comfortable. Again, it's all the positives you could expect, man. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, this thing's great to hold, but I'll hold it for a shorter amount of time because the fucking battery. Like, you know what I mean? It's so frustrating. But the worst, you get it loaded up. You can go to Reddit threads and see this. Dude, their drivers aren't ready. If you are selling me your system, your engine should be ready. If I'm buying a car, the wheels should fucking work. And I don't know what it is. Ally did it as well. They need to work with AMD. You can blame it on AMD. You can blame it on these companies. It doesn't matter. The fact is that we're getting games already that say you don't have a proper driver. So you need to install the new one. People do, and the damned thing fails from that point on. It doesn't work, and people are like rolling back their systems. And this is something we saw with the Ally.
MKM issue. Yeah.
Screen's great. Screen's about as I know. You know, I think it's 100 nits higher than the Ally, but I feel that it's about the same, and that could be for various reasons. It's really good. Doesn't have VRR. It's 144. Feels fine. Didn't have any screen tearing. It's a good, powerful system for handheld. Looking at my notes here, I do want to bring up some notes. Most of these are really just caveats. Every single thing that if you want, there's probably a positive for it or a negative for it. And it's even worse than the Ally in that aspect. The Ally, I was able to say, I don't care. I'm done. With this, I'm much closer to being like, I like this, but it's got this and this. So, for example, no bloatware at all. Almost nothing. Which is sort of mind-boggling to go in and look at your programs in a Windows machine and be like, oh, this hardware manufacturer didn't install anything. Like there's very, very little on there. Touchpad, amazing.
Wow, okay.
Amazing. Dude, it's only one, and it's on the right. It's under your gamepad, but going through Windows, it's just like, just instant.
Like you have like a whole Windows desktop?
Yeah, that is what it is. And you can just use a thumbpad. Shit works. It works primo. There's no issues. It works fine. Love it. And then the fans turn on.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, how in the hell are we here again? And people have argued. I've seen it in Reddit. I've seen it on some reviews. And I talked to a couple people who reviewed it. Some people think it's louder and have seen to have used sensors and found it's louder. Some not, which I think is probably because it's a new system. You might have different like tolerances, but it's pretty loud. It's and it depends on your ear. Does high pitched bother you or low pitched? And I think the Ally might be more positive for some people who like a certain pitch of fan noise.
Gotcha.
I am not bothered by, so even though I'm saying it's loud, I'm actually not bothered by fan noise.
Does it get hot though?
It doesn't. So not only is it much cooler, but the problem is the fan noise eats up the speaker sound because the speakers are incorrectly placed.
You gotta wear headphones when you play it.
You gotta wear headphones. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you really want to get tonally what's going on in a game, you definitely. Yeah. I find that as it ramps up and where your hands are and how the audio's going. If like let's say you were laying in bed and you put it on your chest. You might as well just, play it by braille because that's not going to work. You definitely want to adjust it. Like I said, so some finagling to get. I've seen some people post some videos of games crashing and stuff like that because of the panel shape and size and resolution. I personally will never run into that until I tested it. It's just play mostly newer games, but this is a handheld, and I think some people will be playing those older games. They need to know that there's 1.1% of games that may have an issue. Very low.
Gotcha.
Let's see what else. Fan, mouse, all that stuff works. Mouse system works well. The first-person thing I think is awesome. It's got a USB on top, a USB on bottom. Both of them are friggin' Thunderbolt, the newest Thunderbolt, so you can run your external GPU on it. But it's probably got the best stand I've ever seen. So this stand, man, I've asked her to bring it in here because she's got it, because I want to show you this. But I always hate doing this in front of my face, but I want to show you the stand. The stand is awesome. It's like ironclad, the stand that holds it up if you want to put it on your table. Here's the caveat for me. Never in a million years will I ever play this game or this system with it on a table.
On the stand?
It will never happen. But if you did want to, it's nailed, man. It's strong. It works. However, as I say that, there's always a negative. The USB and the way it faces means you almost need a bendable USB or a connector to use the bottom USB at all.
Ooh,
if you wanted to do it this
way.
They
have the same issue the Switch did, where you can't charge it while you're...
You can.
You can. Okay.
You've got one on top. It's just that the bottom one's occluded almost completely by the way it sits. And got extra buttons on the controllers on the back. It's the scroll pad, all that kind of stuff works well. I've enjoyed playing games on it. And there's less caveats than the ROG Ally, but all of these software things, dude, it's given me like memories of the Ally, where it was like every day I would log in and look, and somebody'd be like, "Are you kidding?" And there'd be a new level of shit. And of course, in Reddit, you're gonna have people who don't have this and do. That's the way new items happen. PS5, mine died during the review process, and I had people give me death threats. They were like, "It for sure didn't die." I'm like, dude, it died. It doesn't matter. That's life. So I think some people will get this, and maybe the fans will be at not a different curve, but maybe just over time as it gets built better, some of these will go up and down. Maybe we'll get an extended battery. But what's weird to me, Absy, is like all these have a negative, man. The Ally has all kinds of hardware issues. It's not as comfortable. Its battery doesn't last as long. Its screen is smaller. They're about the same price. So the Legion's like, oh man, it's got all these pluses, but then it's got that battery that, I mean, I know people don't want a huge, heavy handheld, but it would be nice to have a battery that lasted maybe 1.5 times as long. You know, just like...
I want batteries to get to the point where a handheld lasts like 8 hours, you know? At least.
Yeah, streaming it will. Streaming, you'd probably be that. You know, GDeck will last 12 hours streaming. But, that is one thing. You know, it's Windows, so it streams anything. That's one of your biggest bonuses. Yeah, as you come out. Dude, and I got to tell you, man, I don't care what anybody says. You were talking about Sifu, in fact, and people were talking about Sifu, and I was saying that on a smaller screen, Sifu becomes quite difficult for me to play just because the size and space of an animation that you might need to trigger off of, it's just a little small.
A lot of tiny anime. Yeah.
With this screen, that is whatever the inch requirement I need. Maybe I'm a size queen, but whatever inch requirement I need is less than this, because the moment I turned it on, I was like, oh, thank God. It's this feeling of... It's a feeling of weird relief when I turned it on. That I realize I'm fighting when I'm on my other ones, like the G Cloud, which I love, but I feel like I'm consistently angst. Like I'm always like, oh God, I hope I don't miss some graphic that's popping up. I hope I don't miss like some animation a character's doing. So yeah, man, I mean, there's a lot of positives. It's much cheaper than a lot of the others that we've seen. One X Player Pro is more expensive. This is cheaper, more powerful, got faster memory. You know, there's the positives there. Do you have a Lenovo?
I have a Lenovo Legion.
Lenovo.
Laptop.
Sorry, I always pronounce it wrong. I could see people who've had those jumping in and really not, as long as they know the thing about the speed and all that stuff, probably not being, you know, negatively.
The reason I asked about the heat is because this fucking thing runs hot. You know,
like your GPU laptop runs hot.
Yeah, if I'm like just sent, GPU went up to like 85. You know.
I see. Yeah.
But like
this
laptops do run hot. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, this has got the extreme chip and stuff like that. And from what I think I wrote down one of my temps. Let me look here. There's just Uh, Man, I'm almost sure I wrote down one of my temps. It's not there right now. I'll have to get it. I have to get it back. It was significantly cooler than I expected though. And another thing that's nice is holding it is cooler. So the Switch is pretty cool. The One X player, I've noticed at times can get a little warm. Matt Clark, $5 super chat. Just want to thank you guys for getting in on the hump on the Wednesdays and making Fridays freaky good. Kudos on the 2 shows. Keep doing what you do. Thank you very much. And there was another one that I don't want to miss. Souls Keeper, $23.99 super chat. Gents, thanks again for making the Wednesday a bit more tolerable. What would you give as a ballpark figure on the total spent so far in life?
Oh, geez.
Life on video games and hardware.
Okay, so I'm just gonna look at my Steam DB tracks that. So
man, in all of life, dude, that's pretty crazy. I don't know. Do you think you said Steam? Oh, so you'll look at your Steam library.
I'll look at my Steam and then make my estimations based on that. I think my Steam library. Let me see. What do you think yours is?
I mean, I legitimately have no clue. I don't even have a ballpark. I mean, I don't even know because, man, I've never once even thought about this, but I'm thinking consoles and then, VR, multiple VR. I'm also a little confused because some games I traded for. There was a lot of Sega Genesis games where I had a Sega Genesis game, so I gave my friend one, he gave me one. So it's like, well, that's only $60 because it's one game. Even though you played 2. I legit don't know, man. I don't even have a ballpark.
So my Steam library is around $6,000.
Okay.
And that is how many games? Over since 20, I think I started buying games on Steam at 2013. It's like around 400 games.
One full decade ago.
6,000, and then PC alone, it's another like 2,000 plus 2,000 plus 4,000, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll say 30K. That's not bad, right?
I don't think it's anywhere near what you spent, dude. Come on.
No, is it lower?
Yeah, but I bet you it's. I bet you it's higher. Yeah, it's a hard question, man, because I mean, I'm ignoring even my parents buying me stuff. I really am just looking at my own stuff. And Steam library, I can't even tell you what games came in a deal and what didn't. What games came as reviews, what didn't. What games, I have the same game 5 times, which I would count for sure for this question. But it's a good question. I mean, I do not know. I don't even have a ballpark. I do have a ballpark, but I'm not going to say it because I don't think that's really like kosher. But I do have a ballpark for my expenses each year.
Oh, okay.
But that includes hardware, payment for ads, payment for wires, payment for all kinds of stuff. Or not ads, editors. Sorry. For like you, I have to like write that stuff down, but I don't separate it all. What were you going to say? Did you have anything else?
No, I was going to ask you your ballpark, but you don't want to.
I do. I don't have an answer. Though. Yeah.
Because there's an in and an out for you, not just an out, right? Like you receive money, you spend money and receive money.
It's just so many games, man. I mean, it's not only so many games. I'm trying to think back to like when I bought 2 or 3 Genesis at the time because one died. I bought 2 Saturns over the years. I'm sure I bought 2 or 3 Dreamcasts because the Mad Catz controllers destroyed one of the Dreamcasts, right? The connectors. So it's like, it's unbelievable how much. I don't really track hobbies costs, though, over a long period of time. Maybe 1 or 2 years I would know. But after that, I think any hobby, I would have a hard time tracking.
Okay, this year alone, for games alone, probably around $500, maybe, no? No. There's a lot of games.
Way more than $500 for me.
Wait. There's a lot of games that came out.
Yeah, a lot of games.
Like $60, let's say. It's like 10 games.
That would be
600, right?
That would be exactly. That would be just 10 games, and that's just that's
yeah,
not
it's only 10
including some
games.
controller, wires, well, not wires, you wouldn't count that. But I guess if you don't count controller either, got indie games, and then
Got indie
subscriptions.
games. I got a bunch of indie games. Subscription. Oh yeah, Game Pass
Yeah.
alone.
Isn't that crazy how quick it can add up? Like your brain is
Yeah,
all,
Jesus,
this
yeah.
shouldn't be an issue. And then, real quick, I want to get to the other super chats. Oregon, $5 super chat. How interested are you in VR tech, big screen beyond, and Quest 3? Funny you mentioned that. I was actually looking at last night at big screen, and big screen's got way too many issues, including how it handles its refresh rate, how it handles some stuff. I love the idea of having your own headset, but then if my friends came over, you can't hand it to them because it would be uncomfortable because it's built for you. It's 3D printed for your noggin. So I love the idea, but it's turned out to be sort of not really a game changer for me. Quest 3 is great, but unfortunately every game I'm seeing is all the same kind of stuff, man. It's always just a repeat of, like, it's just like, here's a shooter, here's a blah, 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 I don't think the money's there. I don't know if you saw this, but they were saying, I brought this up in the chat, I think it was around anywhere from 25 million to 70 million for Half-Life Alyx, so I went in the middle. I said 45. The last developer I talked to had exactly 1/10 of that as their full. No, wait, 1/10 would be. Sorry, they had 1/100th. They had 1/100th of that budget.
400K.
Yeah, and one had 40.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a big enough market share to justify that.
There is,
especially if you're selling at $60.
Really rough, man. Yeah,
like you'd have to sell. That would be like a VR, like a true VR game would be something to sell for like premium price for the premium VR users or something.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Gaming. Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't see the market share getting that high anytime soon, like for VR, as much as consoles and normal PC and.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while, if ever. Gaming Addict, $2 super chat, here to support you. Great show. Thank you very much, Gaming Addict. Appreciate it. But to finish up the Legion, it is what it is. All these games or all these systems have caveats, and I like mine. I like my systems, and I like each one for a little bit of a different reason. And Absy always teases me as being for sure the most streamy of all of us,
streaming
right?
Games.
Yeah, I would say I stream the most.
You always talk about laying down in bed and streaming games.
Yeah, dude, it's great. It's great. Yeah.
It's your thing.
It's great. It's like the most sexy, unsexy thing I can think of, right? Like you don't want to think about it, but you're like, that sounds pretty cool. Maybe not. You don't want to see your own O face, but it's just it's a great idea, but I think it all needs to wait. And God, dude, I'm telling you, man, the idea that a company releases hardware and doesn't have their own drivers ready is just like, I don't know if maybe I'm so old that this is the new thing and you just have to deal with it. But currently, I am not going to deal with it. I'm like, that is unacceptable to have your stuff. And if it's on AMD, that's AMD's fault, and they need to fix it. And we know, and GeForce has their own, or NVIDIA has their own issues with supporting GeForce Now and stuff like that. So NVIDIA's not out of the woods. They do their own screwy shit. The idea that you're selling somebody something for $750 and they get it, and their driver is June, I think, and you're like, what? And with the Ally, a lot of people were side-loading drivers and hacking INI files, and you're like, Jesus, for a $700 device, that's where we are? That's the support this company can muster up, is you hacking your own INI file? I don't know. It's just, it sucks, man. I want it so that when you pay this, you have all your negatives and positives, and it's hardware-based. And not, I think the software thing is the big problem. I guess. That's just me. Moving on from there.
What are you going to do? Because drivers, they come like all the time, man. They're coming like every month now.
Yeah, and the fact that they're not updated for this hardware, these specific APUs for the Legion and the Allies, just bothersome. It's mind-numbing. It pisses me off. Because, dude, it's a premium. $750, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. And by the way, did I buy it? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Luckily, I have somebody who's like, I will foot that bill and I'll keep it, and you can just, go ahead and play it as long as you want, and I'll foot the bill because they want it. They were not happy though when I was telling them this morning about some of the problems I had. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
saw
this is
that
the thing you got, and these are all the problems.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
You so
yeah.
I appreciate you because I know you're listening. So I'm explaining it. I'm like, dude, and we were on a Zoom call. He's close, but he's not like that close. We were on a Zoom call, and I just saw a look of concern, and I was like, what? And he's like, dude, this sounds like the Ally again. And I was all, no, it doesn't have the heating issues. A lot of the stuff, it doesn't. But then I realized I was doing that thing where you're like, nah, it's not that bad. It's like you have cancer, but it's not that bad. You're just like, you got a while. And you're like, oh, shit, man. This sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we get more. Switch 2's coming out, guys. So this is not a bad system, but it's got a lot of the same growing pains that you will always see in these systems. Don't expect to turn it on and have it instantly work. If it does, I love you. You're so lucky. If it doesn't, warned you. Let's say, warned you. What else we got from there? Looking on to the future stuff. We got a cool question. It was... a moment in a game that was supposed to hit hard but didn't. Is there so we sort of discussed this in Alan Wake 2, where there was a moment to hit you that didn't hit me. Is there a game where this moment was supposed to like knock you back on your socks and instead you were like,
Yeah, probably the entirety of the story of Last of Us 2.
Oh man, that's that might be yeah, that's a good answer, right? Because it was written from there's a viewpoint in that game that it was written for Oscar talk almost, if that makes sense.
Like shock value. It's like, oh, you just killed this dog.
Right.
It's like,
okay. Yeah. That is a good choice. It's a good choice. I would say the honest truth for me is Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok. I know that there were a couple scenes where I feel like they were like, this is gonna make you sweat. You're gonna see this and you're gonna be like, oh, whoa. And I think 1 did such a good job that 2 hit well, but it just, it's difficult to hit that high. It's like Spiderman. I know some people are reacting that way to Spiderman 2. They're like, dude, I know it's good, and it is good, and I love it, but it doesn't hit as high because it's not new. And humans require that. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I like a little more subtlety too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes you just, like Last of Us 1 did a lot of there's some subtle stuff they did that hit way harder than the unsubtle things they did in the other one.
Did you feel like when you were done playing Last of Us 2, do you think some of that was simply caused because they were writing a story that already had solidified itself in Last of Us 1, and that Last of Us 1 got away with it because it was new and there was a mystery? We had no clue on some of this stuff?
I think for me, Last of Us 1 had a very, very interesting thematic storytelling stuff where there's some very, very interesting dilemmas to think through, very interesting kind of relationships, new relationships, like you said, and really cool interactions that were a little more subtle. And then with Last of Us 2, the moral of the story didn't really resonate with me. I thought there's like things I see what they were trying to do, but I found the execution of it to be cheaply paced.
Yeah.
Paced cheaply. So it didn't, and some of the things that meant a lot, that were subtle and one they kind of overblew it into where they were like kind of bombastic with it. I'm not gonna say exactly what, but that didn't hit. Yeah.
What about you guys in chat? So basically the question is, did a game that you almost knew was supposed to be there to hit you right in the balls just didn't hit? And it's funny you mention that, dude, because pacing is... I just got this question because I brought it up in the last 3 reviews. And so somebody asked me, and this will just go... I'm going to ask it because it comes into this question. I said that I brought up paciness multiple times in reviews. What is a game that isn't pacey that I thought the story was well done, that isn't pacey? And that's actually a really good question point. I honestly do believe, my personal opinion when I got out of it, was that Control 2 had some slow parts, but it wasn't pacey. And what I mean by pacey is control. Sorry,
or Alan Wake too.
Control.
Okay, control.
It did have some issues, but there was something about it that I had more issues with Alan Wake 2, and certainly more with Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, okay, there you go. Ignore what I just said. Spider-Man 1 is not pacey. Spider-Man 2
has pacing
is
issues,
pacey as hell, man. Spider-Man 2, you're like, dude, I'm swinging through go for a bike ride, and you're all, what the fuck? Seriously? Imagine the greatest part. That was the greatest part of the game. I came off of the biggest high where I was telling you guys in chat, I'm like, hey, this opening is ace. You're not going to believe the opening in this game is incredible, and bubble, and then bike ride. And you're like,
yeah. Dude, and like FF16 did very similar things where it's like
FF16 did do it.
Dude, it's like, oh my god, the hypest moment ever, and then gotta talk to like a bunch of people and collect something. Yeah, it's fuck, man.
Go ahead. Sorry, I want to hear this. Go for it.
Everyone's obsession with like hours in a game that makes people just fill it up, or I don't know what it is. Or maybe it's a difficult like thing, like how to pace something.
Open world's more difficult, I think. Also,
for sure.
If it were me, and I'm not in any way, shape or form saying I know better, but I know that if I was playing that game as a QA tester, let's say, and they said, here's Spider-Man 2, what's the pace like? I would say it slows down too quickly. It needs to have a slightly lower. A couple cutscenes, in fact, could have just been switched a little bit.
Off of that first hour, dude?
That first hour. Yeah, dude, you're just like, seriously, if you had just moved that a little bit, you would have let somebody just come to the point of going, I've got my grasp of the moves, the upgrade systems, the blah, 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 the blah, blah, blah. I've got my grasp. And now Harry and MJ and his dad, or not his dad, but Harry's dad, all these guys, Osborne family, you would have sort of been able to slide into them a little easier. It was rough, man. It was rough.
Yeah, it went like it was like from there to like here. It was really weird.
It went really off a cliff, dude. It sucked because I remember, this is going to sound so weird, but in the first game I did the walking the walk because exploring the world was great. And I remember biking in Spider-Man 2 and my brain just going, I will not do a fucking walk in the walk. And it was just like this, it will not do it. I'm not going to do, I hate it. And I wanted to get through it, which never happened in Spider-Man 1. And I think Spider-Man 2 could have had me never want to get through it if they had just adjusted and Sam Lake talked about this for Alan Wake, where he said there were some cutscenes they moved around. They're like, this cutscene's time can be moved. It's not a big deal if we move this later, we move this prior. And they adjust it so that the player is never, unless they're shocked, but there's not that moment of, there's nothing. What's going on? Like, why am I just riding a bike? Man, that fucking sucked. Last of Us 2 was a mess. Absy, I can explain the open world issue, but it would be hard in chat with character limits. I don't know what that means. Did you say that?
Which open world issue? Oh, like how open worlds are paced?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's entire videos and documentaries about that. It's so funny because even they don't agree, but I think we can all look at some of them and, you can sort of identify some of the repeat offenders in open worlds in particular. And then you can also, I think, identify a lot of the cyclic gameplay elements that should be introduced later, not prior to the cutscenes.
And it's really hard.
I think they try to hide it. Go ahead.
It's really hard to make like a super compelling story without urgency, but you don't want to have urgency because it's open world. You want to do everything, but at the same time, you don't want to fall into like a rabbit hole, but at the same time, you don't want to feel like you're disconnected from the story, but at the same time, you don't want the story to be too loose. How do they do it? I have no idea. I can't even think of can I think of like an open world game that does everything perfectly? Like side quests, marrying, main quests, maybe Witcher 3, but Witcher 3 just had a bunch of different stories that I can't think of like an open world game that had like that urgency, but that felt like everything you're doing in the world kind of didn't feel disconnected to it. You know what I mean?
Larian did a good job teasing that with one of their Divinity Original Sin missions, which is the kid who's sick, and they say you need to hurry back, and if you don't, the kid dies.
They're
like, you didn't come back, and you're all, oh shit, I've got so accustomed to just walking off when they're like, this is so important. You're like, I'll get to you, man. I'll get to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Witcher 3 had a lot of problems with pacing, depending on how you played it and how you experience. That's one of the problems with open world games, is you can also cause your own issues with pacing. So I try to not take those into too much account, because I'll know internally in my brain, I'll be like, I spent a lot of time making an amulet, so that's not really fair to say this story beat doesn't hit. But it's and the thing is not. I mean, every movie, you'll hear people say there's a perfect movie. I just don't believe in it. I mean, right? Like, there's movies we love or whatever, but it's like, if you spin long enough, you can find a problem with it. I think the same goes with games. Sure. I can bitch about open world and Witcher 3, and then I look at Witcher 3 and go, yeah, but it was still a blast.
For sure.
It was still like unbelievably fun to play. Cool world. Had some tech issues. Yep. Still fun. Like,
yeah.
Spider-Man 1's open world was better than 2, with 2 feeling lifeless and empty and lacking character. That's what Flexing Mecha says.
You know, the worlds and those games never I never like. I know you did a walking the walk, but even
here we go.
What, like increasing the size?
Yeah,
like increasing the size in 2. Like I don't feel those things. It's just I'm going from one point to another, swinging. I'm having fun swinging. I don't know. I didn't even notice the world being bigger. I was surprised to see that it's 2 times the size, because there's a bridge now. I know that, but because I fly through this shit. Like, it's not like a game where every section of a world counts. I'm just going from one point to another point. You know, I don't really feel it. Yeah.
No, because there's rediscovery and discovery. In the first game, it was all discovery. Even if you knew every location in New York in real life, you wanted to see how it was replicated in the game. And then in Spider-Man 2, it's twice as big, but it's like, well, the clock tower's here. There's a clock tower there. It's like saying clock tower. Oh, there's a sense of rediscovery. Hey, they changed the graphics. And rediscovery is just not the same to most people's receptors for their brain. And it definitely wasn't the same for me. I really thought it was great. You could go across the water. Swinging was great. Didn't like the wingsuit at all. I thought the wingsuit, there's whole videos, I'm sure, somebody who does games and who, like, this has spent their life, like a, you know, somebody who did Thief or something, sit down and break down why the wingsuit is good or bad. But I felt that the wingsuit ruined a lot of the moment of, like, I got to get there. I got to get there. And yeah, the world's bigger, but when you get that wingsuit on, dude, I don't know about you, but I feel like Turbo Man. When I put that wingsuit on in Spider-Man 2, I'm like, bitches, I'm out. You know, it's so fast, right?
Especially when you get the upgrade to, like, dive and then...
Yes. Yeah. It's crazy how powerful that wingsuit is. But again, a lot of people loved it. So I was wrong.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it because I was weaving in and out of it in cool way. Like, I'd like swing and then
feels
pop
good.
it a little bit and then go back to swinging. That shit felt good to me. I never like used it for long. The only time would be like crossing large like distances with nothing to swing.
Can we just partner up on bullshit on shitting on something? I'm just joking, because I don't know if you agree with this.
What's up?
I use the wingsuit far more than I ever did tricks, and I just don't like the tricks.
I never
in Spider-Man.
did tricks.
I don't like them, man.
Tricks.
They don't feel good.
Yeah. They don't. They're not. I never really interacted with that mechanic. Yeah, it's true. I didn't even.
I do one, thing. And I'm like, great. He already looks amazing when he's swinging. So,
there's normal animations when you're off the swing and back into it. Like, that's enough. Yeah,
it looks so great. They did such a good job. So whenever it's like hold square and right if you want to do this, or you can press down and dive, and I dive. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing it. I don't give a shit about
What if
tricks.
it was more involved, like a Tony Hawk thing?
Nah, no way. No way.
Grinding and shit.
No way, because if I ever failed on a mission, my brain would internally be like, dude, shouldn't have been tricking. And then I would never trick. Because I would always be nervous about the future of. That's the thing, Spider-Man even with the tricks, but his normal swinging is so cool looking that to me the trick was that he was Spider-Man in the first place. The shit he did was so crazy. When you go around a corner in Spider-Man 1 or whatever, and you know you fling your feet up, it's just like, dude, it's so much better than Superman. Let's say, just that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
just put your hands forward, and Spider-Man looks good.
How are they gonna make it feel good to travel in with like as Iron Man?
Dude? Yeah, it's a good question.
Do they do?
And
People didn't like the stamina meter shit from Anthem, so
I cannot wait because I really cannot wait. I'm really excited.
yeah.
But you are right. I don't know how they're gonna do it without having it be like all battle or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Like look, Spider-Man, amazing even Batman, like you got grapple, you got your wings.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't like others are just too, you're just flying or whatever. I can't think of like something that would make
it could
pop.
be. It depends on where it is. He's gone to other planets before. I'm sure it'll be in America, not America, but yeah. But I'm assuming it'll be on planet Earth. But
What
it's a
would
good
Wolverine
question.
do? Does he just run?
So Cadiz keeps telling me that he is known for a motorbike in some comics. So you could have a motorbike, but I believe, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Insomniac has stated that this is not necessarily open world like Spider-Man. So it may be open hub level, but not getting on your Harley drive. Because here's the thing, dude, depending on which Wolverine, he either doesn't give a shit or barely gives a shit. So like if somebody's dying, it's like the Punisher with Thomas Jane. He did a small fake Punisher sequel, and he just let somebody get beat up because the Punisher that really wasn't the thing for that character. And that's the way in many ways Wolverine is. It really depends on exactly what's occurring, what level of like where he is in his brain and stuff. The idea of driving around in a car, can you imagine like somebody stealing a car, Wolverine showing up? Wolverine doesn't do that. Right?
No, he doesn't. He's not. Right. He's not that type of hero.
He's not that. Can you imagine in the movies, like Hugh Jackman showing up and like busting up some car thief? It's not even. It doesn't even fit. It doesn't even fit.
He usually just is a hero to things that are personal to him, right?
Yeah.
Like, things that happen to him,
and he's pretty powerful, regardless of all the other stuff. I mean, he is. He suffered through a nuclear bomb in the one movie or whatever, and I'm sure in the comics he can withstand some serious damage. So he's different than Spider-Man.
See the decision to make it not open world would be smart. Make it more personal level, hub-based.
Yeah, where you go to a place, you take missions, you go to this place, you do this cool mission. I can't wait for that. I don't really want to drive around in a Harley as Wolverine. Like the idea is weird. You got your French scarf. You can choose different scarves. And he's like just driving his motorbike and stopping and helping grannies get across a street somewhere. It's just not a good idea.
Does he have acrobat? Like, does he run on walls and shit? Or like,
I mean,
he could do like
he
stealth
for
stuff,
sure
right? Like,
has what's the term, hero acrobat. Because he's so strong and so limber and so he definitely in the movies will like run alongside he'll do something that's so unrealistic, but it's not Spider-Man levels. No, it's not Spider-Man levels. Wolverine or not Wolverine, Iron Man. I don't know, man. That's a good idea. What if Iron Man and Wolverine team up and Wolverine rides Iron Man around? And they just do duo, right? Where Wolverine's on his back. Remember you and I in Red Dead, you sitting on the back of the horse?
Yeah, on the back of the horse.
They're podcasting. You got Hugh Jackman being like, "Sup, everybody? Welcome to the Iron Man and Wolverine podcast." That would be awesome.
Oh God, kill me. The podcast and Spider-Man. I turned that off.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would agree. They were there's a lot going on in Spider-Man 2, dude, that I'm gonna need to digest.
It's a lot of progressiveness.
It's not only that, it's that there wasn't a lot of other. It was like this is it. And there was just this odd feeling at times, almost like when you're missing the radio in Starfield, where because it's just not there. And I felt at times when I was playing Spider-Man 2, I was like, oh, just a different podcast is not there. Just a different.
I saw a clip of there's a Spanish dude. He was playing Spider-Man, so he's playing it in Spanish.
Yeah,
and how Spanish has like gendered language, right? Like
masculine and feminine.
So in that podcast, they were using genderless language for Spanish to be PC, but it didn't make sense.
It doesn't work.
It didn't exist.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So he just turned it off. Yeah, but I thought that was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people. I'm sure you've picked up on this on games, but where I've heard people talk about Farsi or talked about different like languages in that location, and they'll be like, dude, what they're saying just doesn't. It's supposed to be a representation of this, but it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and a lot of people aim it at people who aren't from the area, and that's what I've always thought. And then talking to a couple developers, like, dude, I'm from that area. We chose that for this reason. So a lot of people are like, it's they hate or they're not paying attention. And you find out, no, they're very much paying attention. It's that there's this middle ground that is uncomfortable and always misses, right? The average is terrible when you think about it. Like, you don't want average because it misses the high and the low completely. And
for sure.
You sort of want to aim high, which to me would mean if I'm going to do a different language, I would try to aim to be as accurate as humanly possible, even with the exclusion of other people understanding. If that's what I was going to do, that's what I'm going to do.
For sure.
We got a $5 super chat. What are you guys? This is Robert714. $5 super chat. What are you guys' thoughts on EA making the Black Panther game? And what would you like to see in the game and game mechanics? EA is doing a Black Panther game?
I've never watched what type of fight, like what is Black, like what is
very
Black
much a martial arts fighter. He gets his power from the, or doesn't get his power from the suit, but he's got like a connection to his land at Wachovia, right? That might be wrong, but it's
Wakanda, right?
Wakanda. Thank you. Gets a connection to his land. Then he's got this suit that's really cool. It can do all this. Got a lot of gadgets, that kind of stuff. But very much martial arts. Very much sort of like Cat Ninja. I mean, I don't know any other real way to explain it. I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to be really interested to see what they try to do for that game. How are you going to deliver something that's really unique to Black Panther? That's not a repeat of Wolverine. That's not a repeat. We're getting a lot of the superhero regurgitation. Yeah. So
what do you do to separate like one melee combat from another melee combat? Like dodge, attack. It's all gonna boil down to that. Or what do you do? Let's with Wolverine, for example. What does he do other than attack and dodge?
So here's your big problem too, dude. You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't say it, it's where we're going to go, which is that Batman by himself is Batman. Spider-Man by himself is Spider-Man. You mix them two, and you have Batman and Spider-Man. Batman's brutal. Spider-Man's more lithe, more spider-like, more flexible. Yeah. Wolverine, though, much more Batman.
Is he?
Yeah, definitely. It's not as much martial arts, but it's breaking things, throwing things, brawler, stabbing. Even though Batman doesn't stab, but stabbing people.
They should do a Yakuza game with the Wolverine.
No shit. But the problem is the more of these superheroes you get, the more they start to vacillate between the two we already know. And especially, I brought this up because I would love an Arrow game, but then I'm always under I'm like, damn, there's Batman already. Like, how would you do that? Wolverine's got a lot of, I mean, not a ton, because some Wolverine stand's going to get all pissy. But it's like, he is a brute. That's what he's known for, is he's brutal, and he kills, and Batman doesn't, so that's your big bonus.
It has to have violence too, right? Like Wolverine, come on. You're going to shred people. Does Insomniac ever, they've never done like
It has to.
It has to. Imagine like shredding people with Wolverine and not seeing blood.
Bro, it's got to, because go look at Batman. Batman drives people over in a 4-ton tank and smashes them against houses.
Yeah.
And he breaks their back.
Yeah.
To be Wolverine, at minimum, it's got to be R-rated. And then above that, you have to probably show decapitations or delimbing. Because if you don't, that is going to hit really close to... Batman even jokes about it. He's like, they don't die. We electrify him first and it stuns him. And I'm like, so you stunned the poor bitch and then you drove him over with a 4-ton tank. Like, how is that better? Yeah, Wolverine has to be...
It has to be visceral, man. I don't see it go other way. Yeah. And so I'm just never made like a...
No, but Infamous, which they did make...
No, that was Sucker Punch, remember? We went over this.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was gonna... Damn! So I can't even do it. Yeah, I was gonna compare them. You are right, man. You're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that all my friends like different superheroes, so I'm really excited that they're happening. But I feel that Spider-Man feels like Batman at times, and I feel Shadow of Mordor feels like Batman at times. and I feel like blah blah blah. Assassin's Creed, they all feel like Batman at times, which is hit Y to win. They all do something slightly different. Wolverine, I don't know if this is possible, dude. But you know what I'd love? I'd love to be playing Wolverine and like hearing a bunch of reviewers bitching. I would love this. Listen to this. The smile on my face is getting bright.
Like seafood.
Listen to this. Yes. So here's what I would love. What's going on behind the scenes? Like, I don't understand. And then reading these comments of people going, I can't get by the first guy. And you're like, yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying it's teasing them. I'm saying that would cause all of us, as well as gamers, to elevate the idea of the hit Y to be something completely different.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Oh, that would be sexy as hell. I don't know if they'll do it, but I would, man, that would be awesome. That would be like, how would you do it? You would have to tight timing, parries. Like, imagine Liza. I don't want this, but Liza P had the tight parry window.
Even Sifu. Yeah.
Yeah, Seafood. Yeah, Seafood did. I have a hard time. It's gonna sound weird, man. I have a hard time remembering Sifu. I have a hard time remembering the individual fights in Sifu. I don't know any other way to describe it. I remember the vibe and the feel and going through the levels, but the individual hand-to-hand was more, like I was reacting. I remember
there was like a parrying, but it's not like big parrying like other. There was like also like this kind of stay in place dodge thing, where there's like directional dodge.
Oh yeah. Right? Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Directional dodge is cool. No iframes, just direction. I don't know. Just take the damage. What if it's just literally just taking the damage?
Dude, take the damage and like you could do that.
Where would the challenge come from? Like you gotta attack fast, or it's just tons of enemies thrown at you, or like, how do you not die?
So remember in not Lords of the Fallen, the other one, Atlas Fallen, when you attacked more, you got more skills, and then you did more damage, but you took more damage. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but you could technically have it where somehow he gets hit and he builds up rage, but when he bursts rage and gets hit, maybe it stuns him horribly, and so for you to be able to use it, you have to make sure to do what you said, which was the dodge, the parries, making sure you're not in the way. But again, why would you suddenly do that if the very reason you're gaining power is by getting hit in the first place? Yeah, dude, it's probably going to be hit Y. I mean, that's the end, right?
Let's be real. Yeah.
And it's probably going to be hit Y, which isn't terrible. It's just that it's not surprising when I play Shadow and I'm like, I know how to take almost every guy. Oh, this guy, you can't. Did you do this with Spiderman? You get the big bully guy and you're like, yeah, I know. I can't hit Y.
Wasn't a huge fan of that rock, paper, scissors shit.
Oh, no, me neither, but I mean, it's there.
Parry this, you can only dodge that. Oh, man.
You have to slide under his legs,
Yeah.
Ghost of
like,
Tsushima
I like
had
doing
4.
it off my own volition.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah. Or the spider, inseminate or whatever that move is. I would be running around, just be like, and I would do that, stick them to a wall, the big guys, because I didn't want to deal with this dude who couldn't be. You couldn't use something.
You can't attack him until you parry him.
You're just like, dude, what's going on? This he's supposed to be dumb, but he's somehow almost smarter than everybody else. Like he's got this weird skill that you can't do. These are good questions, man, because like Iron Man, I'm excited for. Black Panther, thanks for asking that in chat, because I honestly had not heard a single word about a Black Panther game. Not a huge Black Panther fan anyway, though. I don't know. Are you?
Seen anything? I've never seen anything black. I don't know what the.
You've never seen the movie? Actor. He was really good, man. He was. I love that guy.
I heard like it was really good. I don't know what it's about. I don't know how he is. I don't know how he fights. I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know like how he moves or anything.
So the next thing, speaking of how people move, let's talk a little bit about Dead Island DLC, Dead Island 2. So I got to admit, man, Dead Island, I sort of had a soft spot for it when it came out. I liked it. Wasn't the greatest game in the world, but dude, the DLC falls into that trap of like, here's a small section that we've sort of not randomized, but we've sort of like chopped up, and so it goes longer than it should. The experience is longer than it should, and you're just like, ah, man, this would be better if it was like real, you know, if it was a real location to experience. Instead, you basically find out that there are like basically preppers, I guess, preppers for the post-apocalyptic, but they might know something about the future, and they may have had some kind of almost like ESP about the zombie apocalypse, and so you go to investigate it. There's some good parts. The action is, I don't know if you did Dead Island 2. I can't remember if you played that one.
Yeah, my favorite thing about it was the level design, like the stuff they had, the detail.
It is not as good in the DLC.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
In fact, it's the weakest part.
Like, I remember going through the influencer house,
Yep.
dude. I was just, I loved that. And the hotel was awesome. Like, I just really liked their it was like not like open, it was like a Dark Souls kind of level design.
Yeah, it was that, and it was
Really
a little
cool.
hubby, a little bit hubbed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This one is, you start there at the influencer house, and then you go to this sadomasochistic, like, underground rave club, you know, dungeon,
That sounds
whatever.
cool.
And from that point on, you basically go into 2 or 3 other levels to defeat a guy and bring an item back, and it tells a story. And it's just that the
acting was really good in the game. I don't know if they carried that.
No, there's one
shit.
NPC that's really good in this. Actually, let me reverse that. He's not really good. Said I was blown away when I found out who he was. I just don't want to say anything, but I was like, what the hell's going on? And it's not even great. It's just a surprise where the cutscene played, and I was like, what is happening right now? Are you kidding me? And I was like, that's pretty sweet. But, you know, it adds a crossbow. It adds a couple things when it comes to weapons. You get, I think it went up in level, if I remember right. It's just not really, it's just DLC that I think when you see these battle passes, man, it feels like, I get that they worked on it, but it doesn't feel special. You know, it doesn't feel like anything really.
Not an expansion.
Yeah. And it just sucks, man, because like when I jumped into it, I didn't know what to expect. I love drop kicking somebody. There were some really good parts. I liked a lot of it, but at the same time, it's hard to review because it's like, well, if you probably got the battle pass if you like Dead Island 2, you probably already got the battle pass. So I'm talking to the wrong people, and it's like, is this going to cause you to come to it? Probably not. It's a couple hours, some good weapons, some okay levels, but it's not as grabby as I was hoping for.
What if they added like a whole island or something, and they're like, yo, this is like,
that's what I would
drive
want.
around it? Or
Yep. Do you know what would be great is if somehow they went and got the map from the original
from one.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I
they
was
were just
thinking.
like, and even if it was just zombies, and it was like, you know, they give you a stupid reason for being there, I would probably be really excited about that. What is cool about this DLC is this one's gritty, and the next one is very jokey, and they've made a point to say that the tone is going to be insanely grim and dark and bloody, which this one is, and has some pretty cool friggin' semi-bosses or whatever you call them. This one definitely has those. And then the next one's going to be like far more comedic in tone. But what were we going to say? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think DLCs really shine to me when they add like a feature of a thing that you can keep playing or something like that. You know what I mean? Having like a...
You mean like an additional thing that only the DLC offers?
Yeah, like Division added like a survival game that I really liked. You know, Prey added like a roguelike thing. Hitman added a roguelike, like something like that I really like those. And with a game like Dead Island, where I really enjoyed kind of like hacking zombies, they could have, I don't know, I'm just spitballing, you know, like an island that shifts or something like Lost or something like that, and you build up something.
Oh, dude, that would be seriously cool.
Yeah.
That would be seriously cool if you did something like Lost, where you like have a shift. You go into this island one time, it's like current day, then it's after or what if it's prior to the zombie apocalypse, and people are looking at you like, why are you look like the way you do? You know, dude, that would be sweet. That would be unbelievable. And admittedly, we're probably saying something that would cost as much as the game. But
for sure.
I don't know.
For sure.
The Rob Chief, $10 super chat. Did you guys talk about Jusant? Is that what we're calling that game, by the way?
Jusant? Yeah.
Yeah, is that how it's pronounced?
Jusant? It's a French word.
Jusant. Really fun, smaller indie title. A nice, quick palate cleanser after all these big game releases. And Mr. 337M, thank you again for the super chats, guys. It really does help. Iron Man needs to always be flying. Ooh. whoa, what? Okay, Iron Man needs to always be flying. Variety comes from speed boosts, attacks, turn rate, speed, slowdown speed, and attacks combo with movement.
Kind of like Armored Core-ish.
But Armored Core, you're
You know?
not always moving. The idea of always flying?
Oh, like it'll be like a
It feels like a runner. Like a
gotcha,
an Android runner. or
Pepsi,
something.
man. Like you're
Oh
just
my
like
god! Yeah, let's never mention that game again. I don't know, man. They could do that. I think I want mine to be more like a cinematic. It's not going to be what's his name, but
It's definitely going to be open world for sure. Jarvis is going to alert you for missions, right?
that I mean, right? Unless they break tradition completely. And here's speaking of this, we joked about this, but Ubisoft has all these big games people bitch about. They never cut them. And then you get Star Wars, which involves aliens and other planets, and they say this will be the smallest one. And you're like, what the fuck? So what if in this one, Wolverine's open world and Iron Man's locked off?
That
and you
would be
just get the
stupid.
exact opposite.
That would be stupid. But no, I feel like it'd be great if he is a philanthropist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He has his lab or whatever. What if it's like heavily like customizable, kind of like Armored Core, like customizable suit and shit with like functionality, utility.
It would be amazing if somehow they figured out to do a city like this. But let's say you can't say the city's evacuated. That happened in Batman, all 3 games. But somehow he's in the city, flying, scooting, sliding around, and you get to add these weapons like you did Armored Core. Add your missiles that go crazy when they fire. Add your different lasers. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, and like you need money to buy stuff, but like
how would you get the money?
You get money by doing philanthropist things. But listen to this, dude.
Anybody listening? He's totally skipped that question. Philanthropist things. Let me explain the next. Go ahead.
Let me explain this though. You lose money if you destroy the environment because you have rockets and shit. If you like miss your enemies and keep destroying buildings and stuff, you gotta pay. But how is Iron Man rich? Does he get paid for saving people?
Not only that, but inventions. So he makes a bunch of inventions and stuff like that.
So those would be like mini games, right? Like rhythm games where it's like if you do really well, you make a really good invention. Oh shit!
And it's like suddenly you've got more power, and coins are coming from the sky. Yeah, I have no clue how they're gonna do that. And I think in the movies, how all these movies, they'll cover a character getting sometimes to the money. And then once the money gets there, it never, they might be able to lose it, but the continual flow of money is never talked about. And by the way, if you talk to any millionaires, they tell you that's the hardest part. Getting to 10 million is nothing. There. It's staying there and not losing, not diving back down again. Yeah, it'll be fun to see what they do.
If you could make like investments, like some GTA shit.
That would be cool. GTA 5 did that, man. GTA 5 did a good job. Eggmar wants to know, for $5, thoughts on RoboCop Rogue City. I've heard only positive things about that. Strangely, rough.
Other than stutters and it being like a AA game, I think it hits nostalgia pretty well, right?
Do you know what it is? Is it 40?
What?
Is it 40? I'm sorry, I was asking. I shouldn't have asked it that way.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely middle. It's definitely a middle market. The price is right. Wait, let me see.
By the way, while you're looking at that, Oregon Fresh reminded me, Iron Man also sells weapons. He sells black market weapons.
Oh man, that guy is deep in the shit, huh?
Yeah, he's deep in the shit. So $50 for that? For RoboCop? That seems high.
$50. Yeah, that seems high, I don't think I'm gonna buy it. Yeah, I'm not like in love with the RoboCop.
Right. And I am. I mean, not in love like Sleeve or something, but they didn't hit on. They got him to do the voice, but Ed 209 sounded weird. The big robot. I remember hearing it going. That doesn't remind me of the original. But it is just a shooter. It's whatever it is. I'm glad they did it, but I think 50 is probably twice as much as it should be. If they had done $30, that's not twice, but you get my drift. $30 would be really cool. Be like, here's your RoboCop, $30. Yeah, I think it would work. 50 is a lot, man. 50's a lot of competition right now. Looking at the next. Oh, go. Sorry. No, go
I
ahead.
wonder if they will capitalize on I saw like I played the demo for a little bit. I saw the skill trees and shit. I wonder if they'll capitalize on like the Deus Ex C shit of it. You know what I mean? Like I think there was like different stuff like hacking or dialogue or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know. I only shot some people.
I mean,
I,
imagine if this company
yeah.
does this. They're doing RoboCop. They're sort of mixing stuff in, and then they're like, dude, we could do a pretty good Deus Ex, and or a
Anybody,
ripoff.
just someone.
Yeah, anybody. Yeah. Could
Yeah.
anybody on the street just grab Deus Ex for me and make it?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it's not happening. Um, unfortunately. Let's see, what else do we got? We talked about Avatar Frontiers. Looks pretty good from what we hear. 2023 best reviewed pretty much series of games of all time. Axios, I believe, is the website that broke that down. And seems to be that 2000. It's pretty much what we thought. 2023 is pretty insane. Very cool to see as a year. Does anybody have any questions in chat before we
I
decide
think
what
I
else we're
posted a
gonna finish it
couple
up?
things last
Shit.
night. I posted a
You did.
bunch of shit.
Bloodlines 2, dude. So what was this? It was them talking about the character, right? For Bloodlines 2?
Yeah, it was just I it's it's a lot of dislikes on that video, man.
Really?
Yeah, remember she one of those, there's I don't know, is it a dude, okay, the character that was talking on screen was like lowercase as fuck, dude. I don't
What the hell's
does
lowercase?
not look the best. Remember that?
Oh, okay, I got you. I see what you're
Remember
saying.
all the wacky characters and dude, the first one had a lot of good writing and great acting. I think.
Yeah.
That like edge, that like wacky yeah, it's not there. I just see a bunch of, I see red
Yeah.
bad but bad warning signs, red flags. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I don't know about it. Yeah.
So the people know it's Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2, narrative and RPG stream. And I believe I did see that at one point they were talking about the character and what choices you could make. It's going to be the same character for everybody, if I understand right. And you can build.
Oh man,
like,
I really hope
like there's some not questionable, but some, there's some.
But it was amazing
we'll have to see
making different types of vampires in the first
I
one.
know.
Like you could be like a vampire that can never see. You just underground like Nosferatu and shit. Like, oh man, yeah.
We'll have to sort of get closer to it to see, because guys, this is not even as far as the game was twice before from other devs. That's how many times this thing's restarted. So it's like, I remember I was talking to Denovan and he was like, dude, I kickstarted this in the original time. And I'm like, that's like Star Citizen. Yeah. That's what it feels like. But
been a long ass time. Yeah.
Yeah, very long. Let's see. Next up, you put in revealed he's been producing neat ideas. So Carnage is doing what exactly?
Oh yeah, no, he's been producing a game with these devs. The game is called Amberville, and it's kind of like Stardew Valley with a focus on combat, like kind of a 2D thing. Just showed it, and I was just like thinking about your thoughts, like wanting to ask you about what you think about streamers and content creators helping with game devs and shit. Have we seen that before and like successful?
Just the one, I think you knew more than I did about the shooter guy who is helping make a shooter game, Squad or QNC. There's a shooter guy who's doing a shooting game, and I remember that they sort of announced it. They were like, "Hey, this guy's helping us produce this game." I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm drawing a blank on who it is, but because there's a lot of shooter fans.
Dr.
Do you remember
Disrespect?
this?
The NFT one?
Oh, he's doing one too. No, you brought Q. Is it QN? No, you knew about it. Is there somebody that starts with an S? He's like good at Counter-Strike or something. And
Shroud?
Shroud. Yeah, he's doing one. He's doing a game. That's what it is. Shroud.
Okay.
Yeah, Shroud's doing something on the side. And so this question came up that last time. What do they bring to it? Like, if the person brings something to it that's above and beyond, great. If they don't, then they're just like any other employee. The only problem is I think an influencer probably brings in too much power.
Like marketing power?
Well, too much power in the process of if you suck, what are you going to do? So let's say I help you with a game and I'm just not doing my part as Karak, just not delivering. It's going to be hard for you to say, we want you to go, because you would lose all that push and all that power and stuff like that. That is the very reason you probably hired him in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't really think game players or reviewers, influencers, are any more apt at making a game than anybody else. That's the honest truth.
All. I think the biggest, so I see it in two things. Either like they respect that he plays a lot of different games all the time or stuff. But I think the bigger thing is that he does have the reach that an indie developer would want to utilize as well, and maybe funding. But like, I mean, a lot of people can be good consultants. Like if you play a shit ton of games and you like what you like, I don't know, maybe there's value in that. But
so just so you know, I have consulted on a couple games. There's no issue with consulting on a game. It's when it's like this. It's beyond consulting. It's like going to build by using. Then I need to question what skills does that person have where they're going to be busy daily. So like if somebody came to me and said blah, 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 I'd be like, well, I'm a good idea guy. We can do this. I'm always thinking of things, blah, blah, blah. But at some point there might be those days, a little bit like if you've ever had a coworker who somehow gets away with a job that doesn't have its own, checklist, and they're just sitting there while you're working your ass off. I just sometimes wonder about that. But overall, it is what it is. I think Co covers enough stuff that
is knowledgeable about things.
Well, he is, but I mean, there's a couple things. Can you transmit that information to a game dev? Because telling somebody on Twitch is way different. I mean, if anybody's done, a lot of us can, for example, talk to camera. If I were to get all my friends who are streaming and say, go talk to a group of 200 people, they would shit themselves.
Right, for sure.
They would quite literally quit their job before talking in front of a group that big. So it's like you have to translate the data right, But I'm certainly not dissing on him. I'm just saying as a dev, I would need to be like, what are we getting that is going to require us to use this special term versus just, hey, that person's consulting, which is different.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. Consulting's fun, man. Consulting, because there's no real risk.
Yeah, no liability.
We used to hire consultants at my old job, and I'd be like, man, this must be a great job, because this dude got paid 3 times what I got paid for 3/4 of the time, and he was consulting to figure out like how much manpower was needed, and you'd just be like, dude, he's just here to really chop jobs up for money. Like, that was really all his job was, and there was no requirements of him other than to terminate, which you were already hiring him to do. It was weird. Ravenos says ACG exactly. They use the name guy who plays a lot of games, can design a game. Yeah, who knows? I've talked to Co. He definitely knows games. So I want to point that out. Like, he may be able to translate it. I think it's hard to talk to different groups.
He had an interesting idea that they want to explore. I don't know how the general public would feel about it. But it's kind of cool. I think some games have done that before as well, where you kind of like there's a progression of QOL where, like, let's say in the beginning you don't have like an auto sort function in your inventory, but
gotcha.
Like find a character that is like a specialist in something, and then now you have auto sort, or like a cartographer that
he was talking about this. Co was talking about this.
Yeah, he was talking about that.
It's a good idea.
I like that idea. Yeah.
Again, that's a thing is every time I've talked to him, he's pretty on top of things. A lot of devs are too, if that makes sense, and a lot of people who went to school for it. So that's what I'm saying is like, what do you get if you do this route versus maybe somebody who's an influencer and also busy all the time? Can you pay them enough so that they don't want to stream the newest game? But again, that's all getting into the weeds. He definitely, when I've talked to him, like, had good ideas. That's a great idea right there. You could definitely play around with games that adjust your HUD, as you continue to play and get more and more data. Moving on from there, Deep Space 3 producer would redo it almost completely. What was he saying? Was he saying if he had the money to do Dead Island again?
Yeah, if he were to remake Dead Space, the third one, he would completely redo that game. And it got me thinking, they already remade Dead Space 1 and did really well. I think they would remake Dead Space 2 because a lot of people love it. But then it's like the Resident Evil thing where it's like, okay, now you got to 5 and now you got to 3, where it like kind of people weren't as happy about those.
Yeah.
Would you just reimagine the game? Would you not remake? Would you branch off and do like a separate storyline or a separate story? You know, how would you like to see Dead Space 3 reimagined? Maybe keep in co-op but make it better. You know what I mean?
I'm glad that they never really grabbed me, because it seems like there's a lot of contention in those games.
Yeah.
Especially the last two. The third one in particular had the co-op, right? And I like it didn't. Yeah, and I know some people who just think it's great, and some people hate it, and it feels like there's just a lot of contention around it. The idea that he wants to remake it seems like he feels that there was something missing. I mean, I don't know why he was asked that though. Like, wouldn't you want to remake anything if you had the chance? Does that make sense?
I guess so. Yeah, because like it was a failure for them or something, or like it's straight.
Oh,
like
see, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it became like an
classic
action shooter thing, you know?
Oh,
like,
I see. Yeah, it became
I don't think
something different.
Yeah, people sometimes say, "Oh, it's fun with a friend," but I don't think anyone actually loves Dead Space. Dead Space 3. Yeah, Dead Space 2. Even Dead Space 2, I loved 1 way more than 2. Yeah, I know a lot of people 2 is their favorite one, but it got way too heavy on the action side and less on the atmospheric.
I think there's a lot of people who bounce back and forth between those, because a lot of my friends, when they get together, they'll talk about them, and there's definitely a lot of heat towards 3. There's also a lot of heat towards the co-op stuff, towards the action instead of horror. You know, a lot of people who feel like it lost its heart or whatever. Dude, that was 360? Was that the Xbox 360 days? Yeah.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I don't know. I didn't really gravitate to it. Captain Brainlapse. We talked about this. Games that are well-paced. Sojourner says, recently read an article saying Max Payne remake is close to release. That made me want to play through Max Payne 2 and 3 again. When I played through 3, it reminded me of a mechanic in the multiplayer I thought was implemented in a creative way. When bullet time is used in Max Payne 3's multiplayer, it works off line of sight with other players. When a player enters bullet time, anyone they see will enter bullet time with the first player. This also changes to anyone else on the map who happens to see the other character. Not sure what's going on with this, but just wanted to throw this out. Yeah, so that was the only way they were able to do bullet time in a multiplayer game.
Yeah, time slow mechanics in a multiplayer game is like I remember, was it Dying Light where the last hit on an enemy is slow motion?
I think it was Dying Light.
Yeah,
and they had to figure out a way. It worked well.
Yeah, I don't even remember how they did it. I know also was it not Killzone? What's the shooter, the zombie shooter? Not Killer Instinct. There's a zombie shooter on Steam where like you get bursts of like slow-mo and you like just like shoot. Yeah, the one that had like gunslinger or all these different classes. It's a really popular one. You probably have it. Everybody has it. It's that one zombie game that everyone has in their library, dude. Literally, no. It's something dead, right?
There's a lot of deads.
There's a lot of deads. Dude.
There's a lot of deads, dude. Like it's Killer Dead. Dead Killer?
Killing Floor 2.
Oh, Killing Floor 2. Yeah, okay. I gotcha. That's so, and people are saying Killing Floor, but it friggin' YouTube just went to an ad, so I didn't get to see that. Yeah, very cool.
So that's they had the slow-mo thing. Yeah, it's definitely a hard thing unless you slow down time in real life for the one person.
Yeah, it's hard to do it. It's also hard, super speed. It's like, does that person just jet past you? And how would you do slow motion on one and not on the other? Like, technically, it's really difficult. They do a good job in a couple of games.
Yeah, it's funny in Max Payne, like the thought of like, oh, you peek around a corner, you see a guy in bullet time, and suddenly,
right, and suddenly you're in bullet time. That is weird when you think. Foreign user, $5 super chat. Just wanted to show support for the game. Just got off work, watching from the beginning later. Thank you very much. That is awesome. The idea of a worm-like situation with the slow time, though, where like you pull it off, a person isn't in slow time, they come around a corner, they see it, now they've got the malware, they're slower, right?
Yeah,
and then somebody sees them and goes, "What's going on over there?" And then looks, and now they're slower. I like that idea. I don't think I ever played Max Payne multiplayer. I don't think I've ever experienced Max Payne multiplayer. Because I
never played 3, dude. I never even played that game.
Yeah, dude, a lot of
2.
I think 1 and 2 have the noir whatever. It's got that feeling to it, and then 3 was more the 3 was almost like GTA on the side. I don't know. It's just, admittedly, people are going to be mad, but that's the way it felt to me.
Didn't even one had like the doo-doo, like those alerts that you used to get in the old GTAs, like the
it? Man, it's way too long for me. And so you mean when they pop up as notifications?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I don't
even remember that.
In your, yeah. I just remember the subway stuff. I remember the weird dream-like shit, umbilical cords.
Yep. They did a really good job with the storytelling stuff. I just think that once it got to 3, maybe at some point you just go, Max is maxed out, right? He doesn't need any more. Like, what, it's almost I think John Wick is this way. I love John Wick, dude. John Wick's wicked, to a terrible pun. He's friggin' awesome. But at some point you're like, seriously, I mean, who's he revenging now? His parakeet? Like, what's going on? At some point, you just have to be like, now he's a mass murderer. What'd you say?
I've only seen the first one.
Well, I mean, if you look at it technically, the first one is like the best and plays off that character the best, and it's probably best. They're all good. They're all fun to watch, but one is, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like made for TV movies for 2, 3, and 4, where they're still good, but they don't have the heart of one. 2 is an awesome movie, but 1 just has heart. And 1's like, here's a guy, his dog, me, like dog dies, and that dude's fuck the world, I will just chew through the universe to kill you. And I was like, yeah. But once he kills him, you're just at that point, you're like, all right. And then he gets this sounds so, but in the second one, he gets another dog, and that's when you know a show has jumped the shark. He jumped the dog. Yeah. He gets another dog, and you're like, okay, we're done now. At that point, we can move on if you're replacing the muse.
Does his other dog also get kidnapped or whatever?
No.
Oh, okay,
no, and if he did, that people like me who like animals would be like, all right, kill all the people you want.
Game design.
But you can't kill. Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is. And 1 is, dude, the scenes in 2 are incredible. Scenes in 3 and 4 are incredible, but 1 will always hold a special place in my heart as being like the only movie to make me just say whoa, like Keanu Reeves says in real life like 50 times. I was just, whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Each time you saw something, Extraction did that with Thor, the guy who does Thor, the Extraction movie. Yeah. Have you seen those? No. Extraction 1 and 2? Dude, you're missing out. Extraction 1 and 2 are insane. Like 25-minute full action scene for 25 minutes without a cut. It's Thor, the guy. What's his name? Helmsworth. Hemsworth.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, you don't watch action movies though, I assume. You're just not an action movie fan?
I used to be. I used to be. But I mean, the last one I watched was Bullet Train. It was fucking amazing.
Bullet Train's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know, with action movies, they have to be directed really cool. Like I like that cool like camera placement, cool scenes and shit like that, which Bullet Train really
dude
drove
Bullet
home
Train's like a
and comedy.
We're wrapped up on most of this.
There.
Bullet Train's the best part about Bullet Train, dude, is it feels like a comic, which it is, I was told, but it feels like a comic / it's like a comedy.
Western?
Yeah, comedy, Western for sure, but there's a lot of comedy in it, and it just works so well, and there's surprises that everybody, dude. Even her, I think I told you this already. I know I told Johnny. I did actually not know that the person on the phone is blah blah blah. So
same. Yeah.
I just didn't pick up on it. I didn't listen. I didn't think they'd show up, and then they do. I was like, "Are you?" I should have picked up on it. But
they had a
that's
lot
freaking amazing.
A lot of names in that movie.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. True.
Just out of nowhere, dude. Just out of nowhere.
Oh, what's his name?
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum, dude. He shows up. That is such a ridiculous. And And I think he even said he had to have been drunk. He has no clue why he said yes. But he's like, I guess they said, we want you to do this, and here's what you're going to say. And he's like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, I'll show up. But it's such a weird moment in a movie when he shows up and what he says, and you're just like, what's he, what?
Yeah, he's
What's he
done
talking
that,
about?
dude. Channing Tatum has popped in and done weird shit. Or like, remember that one where he was like a gimp or whatever, like a sex slave.
Yes, with McBride,
Just-
right? With Danny McBride or whatever. The zombie earthquake, or not zombie, but the apocalypse one.
Yeah,
Where he shows up as a kid.
He's a funny dude to like, just like,
you know, he's open to
kinda laugh
teasing
at.
himself. You know.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The Rob Chief for the Robe Chief, $2 super chat. The Raid is my favorite action movie. Yeah, The Raid's very good. A lot of movies that do well now are based on some of these older ones. Raid's a little old for me, but yeah, they're very good. What else has been going on before we wrap this up, man? We got games. Anybody in chat, if you got any special questions of a special kind that you want to ask us? Sex? Life? Love? I'm just joking.
I can't believe the day before is releasing in November. They just released the launch trailer. That's
Do you
crazy
think it's
to me.
really
I
coming?
thought. Do you think they'll release a launch trailer and then just psych?
I mean, no, you're probably... Yes, I do. Yeah. No, sorry, I'll reverse that. I do. I think that I think that they'll roll it back because or what's it going to be, right? Is it going to be like City Skylines where it runs at 5 FPS, doesn't look, anything like what they've shown? Admittedly, I don't know about you, Absy, but what I've seen them show didn't really look magically 1,000 times better than anything else. It just looked beyond their capability to deliver at their cost.
Yeah, what worried me was like the just copying others trailers, like I think it was Division or Last of Us or something. Right?
Beat for beat, right? Isn't that the
Beat for
rumor?
beat.
Or not the rumor even. I think I saw some videos of them.
Yeah, it was beat for beat. It was very sus.
It is weird. You can copy beat for beat movies and you never hear a complaint, but it's like beat for a video game trailer.
I mean, a lot of movie trailers were it's just the same, yeah. In a world.
Oh, dude, in a world, guy. I mean, I remember going in a theater, though, when you heard him, you knew the shit was going to hit the fan. His voice was cool. That's one of those guys that has that amazing voice, just in a world where, mushrooms actually eat humans. And you're like, yeah, what's happening? Transformers. I love that guy. He was awesome. It looked like the Division, Oregon Fresh says. Yeah, I would agree with that. It definitely looked like the Division. But a lot of games look like the Division and don't nail it.
True.
I don't see how they're going to nail really anything. It doesn't. What I've seen didn't look that special. They walked around, right? They grabbed some stuff off shelves. They had a gun battle or two. But they didn't show anything that was like, oh man, this this looks like amazing. It really looked like Unreal levels put together. It wasn't incredibly impressive. What do we have before we wrap it up, man? We're actually 3 hours 12 minutes, which is technically about 15 to 20 minutes shorter than normal. We're doing well.
Oh shit, nice.
How was your Halloween?
I didn't do anything. Didn't do anything. I had some issues with my PC last night, so I was just like worried. That was my scary Halloween night, dude, right there.
I fucked up so bad. It's the day before yesterday, the day prior to Halloween. Did I already tell you this story about the candy?
What happened?
So day before Halloween, I woke up. There were some Snickers on the oven in a bag. And I love Snickers, so I just assume it was my wife buying me some Snickers. So I'm chawing through those things, working out, and it dawns on me, I'm like, oh shit, man, those are for Halloween. Like, I don't want to eat the Halloween. So, because I was tired, and I don't track days, I spent the entire day in chat, by the way, nobody corrected me, thinking it was Halloween. So I order special food delivered as quick as possible to make sure the kids have candy. I'm like, dude, I need a delivery. I need you to show up ASAP
so nice, dude.
So that the kids have candy. So my wife comes home. It's about 3 hours later, and I've got the stack out, bro. I got bags, fucking bowls with candy in them out on the driveway and shit. My wife comes home, and she's like, why is there a bunch of candy on our deck and in the patio. And I'm like, for the kids, man. She's like, dude, tomorrow is Halloween. I was like, fuck.
Oh no.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, I was into it. I was like waiting at the door, and I told her, I'm like, why are no kids showing up? It's dark. Kids should be showing up. It's dark 30. Like, where are the kids getting my treats? And it was the day. I felt like such an idiot. She's
Damn.
like, dude, Halloween's tomorrow.
It's the worst because you also had that regret for eating that Snickers bar, man.
I
You didn't
did.
have to have
It
that
was
regret.
all built on that regret, which I didn't need to have. Then I didn't need to pay order for the delivery to get here in time. And then I also burnt out my good feel. I was so excited about kids because I don't want to be the old codger who doesn't do I get that a lot of people don't do Halloween. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I rarely am joiner. I don't really care about my neighbors. I'm not a big fan of them. They're probably not of me, but we don't really jive. But it's like if a kid comes to your house to get candy on one day a year, you can make sure it's special. So I did. I mean, dude, the box, I should show you a picture. It's like, it's not a box, it's a big green Tupperware thing that's like 25 gallons. That's what it feels like, but it's like this big,
man.
just filled with candy.
Man.
And then kids showed up last night and took 2. Yeah. So now I've
you're
got
just stuck with a bunch of candy that you paid extra for to come really fast.
It's not only that, but you know me, man. Something's going to happen. I told my wife, I'm like, if we don't throw it away, we got to give it away because I have this feeling at 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm going to look at those 40 Snickers, by the way.
Yeah.
Like that one, I'm going to look at those 40 Snickers and go, that looks pretty good, and I can work it off tomorrow.
Yeah.
How many times have you lied to yourself, dude?
All the
You're eating a
time.
Blizzard, and you're like,
I'll just do an extra 5 minutes of cardio.
bro, how many times? Isn't it so weird? In 5 minutes, you can out-eat 5 hours of workout? Dude, God hates us, man.
God hates us. Yeah.
That arithmetic is so fucked up.
Yeah. Calories in, calories out, but it's not proportional, man.
Not at all proportional.
No.
Worst Snickers Karak ever ate. No, it was they were fine. They were fine. Listen, I just wanted to make sure I was taking care of the kids. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else before we wrap it up? I think that is it.
No, there was a quantum something came out and reviews
Quantum
came out.
Error. Yeah,
Quantum
that game.
Error.
Man, dude, that game had some men. The
one of
game was
those.
rough, got bad reviews. Then the developers didn't react. I thought they reacted terribly. That's what I was told. But then I went and saw the reaction. I was like, all right, that's not that bad. But
Yeah.
they didn't take it well. It's a hard time to be an indie dev, man. I'm not saying that game would have scored better on a different year, but people are teasing games more. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, for sure.
going after them, and it's certainly nowhere near King Kong.
No, but at least you got like King Kong and Gollum to like balance this a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
If you
but those are games where it was like, what are you thinking, dude? Those aren't games that are just like, what are you thinking? That's the type of.
And this
on
game, by the
purpose.
way, I don't think many people would be able to look at this game and go, what are you thinking? With Gollum
Yeah, because it's
King Kong,
with
you
Gollum.
could.
Yeah, Gollum is easy. It's like, oh yeah, if you're getting it, you're getting a bad game. But with this one, it's like you don't really know unless you look at reviews.
Yeah, and it's just a couple. I don't know how many it is, but it's a couple. Because I got emailed by them a couple months ago about code and tried to work it out, just didn't have time. But I think it's only like 3 or 4 people, so it's a small group of people making the game. It's not the same as King Kong, which is the King Kong, all this stuff, and it just was terrible. This is like, hey. It's just some people put it together. Maybe their release schedule should have been better. Maybe they should have done just Steam. There's other ways.
Yeah, and
they
whenever you see a
possibly
very small dev team make like a graphically good-looking game, it's
intensive
always
game.
like, yeah.
Yep.
Like I can get like, oh, that one guy did Stardew Valley, and that's amazing. Or like even Phasmophobia. Like with this, it's just like, yeah, that's it's like those indie games that come out, the survival ones that look beautiful, amazing, but then you go to hit something and it's like the worst. Like,
It's the pancake makeup of video games. As I always told my friend, people go to the bar, everybody looks to the hilts, to the nines, you get a little close and you start going like, maybe not. And I think with games, that same thing happens. Is there's this shine in a picture, maybe even a GIF that you make, because you have your friend GIF the best parts. Yeah. And then the game comes, and just like you said, there's some feeling when you look at a game, there's something that happens in your brain and you start questioning it. You're like, something, you know, looking at it from weird angles, trying to you're like, dude, something feels off, man. Like, I need to, there's 3D vision going on. This game doesn't look like it's going to pan out. Yeah, you're absolutely right on survival games. They're the worst. They're the worst survival games. Yeah, this game's going to be this game's going to be that. And you get, I mean, how many survival games have you made a fucking, like, stabby stick in? It feels like 1,000. Where every game's like smash a tree.
None of them have like good combat though. You know what I mean?
They don't.
Like, just give
even
me
Ark,
one that,
which is popular.
Yeah, even Ark. Like it's usually like you poke, like, you know, like the enemy's another tree, but it moves. I don't know.
You excited for Ark 2?
No, but it looks really, really good. But I was never like a huge fan of Ark, anyways. But it's dinosaurs. But like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like they would again. I just feel like it'll have the same issues where it looks amazing, and then you go to like the you know, it'll have like, I've heard a lot of stories of Ark, and like this really, really cool shit I hear, like, oh, we trapped these 2 people, put them in jail cells, and you know, they made them eat their own manure and stuff. You know, and it's always like cool stuff. But then you just go to play it, and there's just like not stiffness, but kind of to it. You know what I mean? Where it's like it doesn't really feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and their complexity. It's not. It's almost like if you had different levels and each one was progressively smaller. Some games, the progression between levels is smooth, and so it feels like a perfect slope. And everything in Ark and these kind of games are these jagged ridges. So yes, you have a system within a system, but to get there, there's this pop. And I think Starfield had this with the loading screens. Starfield had it with not doing system. What I felt was missing was system missions. There's these pops, these like, you feel it, and you're like, this is cumbersome. It's not. And Ark is all that, dude. Ark has so many systems. You're like, wow, it's got this and this and this and this. I played a game called Parkan 1 and 2, which was a Star Citizen / a Starfield style game, and it was the same way. It had all these systems, and I remember reading it, looking at the readout on Steam, going, whoa, it's got this and but then you play it, and it's almost like they're overlapped without a mix, and you have to jump to the other system. You have to be like, we got to leap to get there. So, yeah, I get you. That'll be it for us. Everybody in chat, I want to say how much I appreciate you guys sitting back and listening to us, how much I appreciate Absy taking the time, because his PC is currently being, or is it being repaired right now? Or are you
It'll
going
be
to get
fine.
it repaired?
I'm going tomorrow, but it's just the PSU. It'll be fine. PSU just stopped working for
I'm
some
just joking.
reason.
I'm sure it will be. As I'm trying to make him feel worse, I'm like,
warranty, all right? I have warranty.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. If you get a chance, tweet it out. Check out the Patreon. Check out the Discord. That'll be it for us. Any last words? Yes, dog.
Much love.
I see you. Much love. Peace out.